Welcome to Williamson County Schools Football Media Day 2021. I'm District Athletic Director Darren Joins, and I'm here at Mafiosa's. Thanks for joining us out there live through YouTube, WCTV. We appreciate Lance West and all the folks at WCTV for putting this thing live tonight. Appreciate Mafiosa's, DP, who helped set this thing up from the factory. Tate Matthews, my co-host as always. Tate, listen, it's feeling like normal. We're back at Football Media Day. I know you're pumped.
I'm pumped. It's right around the corner. And as I look, we're outdoor at Mafiosa's at the factory, the venue in Williamson County. And I think back to the very first media day. It was on the turf at about 1 o'clock. I know several of these guys were here at Nolansville. It was about 97 degrees outside. I think it was 115 on the turf. Everybody was melting. I like the patio at Mafiosa's much better.
Well, I was going to say it's Tom Krieger here from the Tennessee, and he mentioned when he got here, man, it's pretty hot, and I reminded him about Nolansville, so he seemed to be okay. We've got Charles Pulliam in the house from Williamson Herald, Joe Williams, a lot of other folks here in town. The homepage is here. We've got 615 Preps here. We're excited about everybody being here tonight. I know you're looking forward to talking to our football coaches and also a couple of players from the team. Hey, we've got to mention, Tate, Walker Chevrolet. We do a lot of special things in Williamson County Schools with athletics, and we couldn't do any of it without Brock Daly and Walker Chevrolet.
No, Mr. Daly's the man. He's been here since the beginning. The title sponsor of every Wilco, every game day, every media day. Without him, so many of these events that are second to none are not possible without him. So, been here since the beginning and still here. Special man. And, it's always nice to be associated with a company like Walker Chevrolet. 1926. They've been in business since 1926.
That sounds very familiar. Sounds like maybe an ad that I would hear on Saturday morning.
That's what I've heard.
Tate, let's talk a little football. And I think anytime we introduce a season, it's pretty fair. We got to go back and talk a little bit about last year. And a good place to start was in the 5A state championship game. Pretty special year for Summit High School. Obviously, Brentwood High School making it all the way to the 6A state championship game. That one didn't go quite as well. But to have two teams playing for a state title and coming away with one championship, I think it goes back to what we always say. You can talk about maybe one team in another district or other county being better than a team in our district. I'm telling you, top to bottom, it's not close. Williamson County Schools football, number one for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And remember, Brentwood gets runner-up in this 6A state championship game, but I think everybody in this room had Ravenwood picked to be the one going there. So just goes to show you how tough that district is. And then Summit, they get the monkey off their back and finally get the gold ball, the 5A gold ball. And then don't forget, Nolansville was, a really good Elizabethton team away from being there as well. So almost had three.
Well, and you talk about, you mentioned Ravenwood. I think a lot of people had Ravenwood penciled in as the 6A finalist at least. They didn't get beat by Brentwood, right? They lost to Franklin.
The Admirals.
So keep it in mind.
Not the Farragut Admirals.
Yeah, they had a pretty nice squad too. So looking forward to playing, looking forward to tonight, hearing from our coaches. Let's do this, Tate. I know we don't have very long here to talk about the teams. Let's just go right down the list in the order that they're going to come on stage. For those out there watching at home, starting at 5:30, we'll have Brentwood High School up here. We'll go in alphabetical order all the way down to Summit High School. We'll have 20-minute segments. That's the hope. Maybe we go over a little bit over. We'll try to keep it on time, though. Let's start with Brentwood High School. 11-4 last year, state championship runner-up. Obviously, big news is a change at the helm for Brentwood High School.
Yeah, and a very late change, but Coach Crawford stuns everybody right in the summer and goes to Christian Brothers to coach with his son-in-law, Tommy McDaniel, and I know that was a gut-wrenching decision for him. I can promise you this, you know him real well, those that know him. If Clint Finch hadn't have been on staff to take that job, I don't know if he goes. I think that made it easier on him. He's wanted Coach Finch to be the person that replaced him. Happened a little bit sooner than I think he thought it was going to, but that's always been the plan, is for Coach to do it. He felt confident in him taking it, and, he is Brentwood football, so he was very protective of who was coming next. And then Coach Finch does that, but there's also another really big change, and that's at quarterback.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You lose a guy like Cade Granzow, you're thinking there's a big change there. Maybe we struggle. Not so fast, my friend. Davis White, he had some pretty good games last year too, Tate.
Yeah, he did. And it sounds crazy to say, Cade had over 100 career touchdowns, and but they're better in the passing game now under Davis. It's hard to fill Cade Granzow's shoes, but you automatically become a better passing team when he's in it. Now, the thing about Cade is it was 3rd and short. They were going to direct snap it to him, and they were going to get a first down, right? But it's going to be a different look. He hasn't played as much as Cade, but like you said, the times that he filled in last year, he lit it up, especially that game in the playoffs, and he's going to be fun. He's going to have a big year.
Aaron Walton, obviously another player that's back. Jake Brock, Mr. Multi-Sport athlete there at Brentwood High School, he's back. But you also talk about some losses, Walker Merrill, John House, Spencer Rich, to name a few. Something, and we'll move on to Centennial next, but something I thought was pretty neat. There was something, I don't know, on Twitter in the paper a couple days ago. It was about Brentwood High School and Coach Finch and what happens. Ron Crawford on Twitter, hey, he's ready for it. I love it that he's doing that, and I know he will be rooting for the success of Brentwood High School and Coach Finch as much as anyone.
Yeah, well, and he's been calling the offense the whole time. So, anybody who knows, Coach Crawford's over on that defensive side. I'm sure he checked in. He wanted to know what they were doing, but that was Coach Finch running that offense. That's going to be Coach Finch running that offense this year as well. Jake
Brock, Aaron Walton will be here in a little bit too with Coach Finch. Centennial High School, Matt Chryski, coming off a tough 2-8 season, but one thing I would say about Centennial and watching them play last year, it was obvious they struggled. It was also obvious that they were young, and you could see some improvement, and I don't think I'm stretching it to say they're going to have a shot to make the playoffs.
I think that's their expectation. He's right over there. He can probably chime in if you want him to, but I think for sure that's their expectation. They were young. They knew they were young, and he's got some really good young ones that are going to be sophomores this year as well. So, that's the expectation. For so many years it's been them and Franklin, usually the winner of that game. And they were so young last year, but they got better as the season went on. I think the regular season's a little bit better, a little bit not as physical. And that's the other tough thing about that 6A region that we've got. Their non-region games are just they're brutal, man. They've had Smyrna in the past, and so definitely got better. And I know Coach Chryski's very excited about this team.
Well, he should be. And I'm sorry I didn't mention this before, but it's a good time to mention it. You talk about the league, you said usually it came down to Franklin and Centennial because, let's face it, Dixon County hadn't had a shot. But what do? Why are you laughing? I mean, it's just speaking the truth, man.
No, I know.
So you take Dixon County out.
Dixon County appreciates it.
I'm a Williamson County Schools employee. So you take Dixon out, and what do? Hey, all you guys in 6A, no big deal. We're just going to add the 5A state champion, Summit High School. So to talk about Centennial and them thinking they've got a shot to make the playoffs, look on paper, I think most would say that the top two teams, they're going to be Ravenwood and Summit. I think that's what most people are going to say. Agreed?
No, I think you'd be surprised.
Okay. What are you going to say?
I think some people will say Brentwood. I think some people will say Independence is in there. But.
Well, I was going to say, maybe we can ask the folks in the media. I think
they would know.
I think if you ask most people, they're going to say top three. Ravenwood, Summit, Indy. Again, hey, I think that's what a lot are going to say. Then you got 4 through 6. Let's just say that happens. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Let's just say it does. You've got Brentwood, Centennial, Franklin left. So if we're saying that Centennial and Coach Chryski, they plan on having a shot at the playoffs, they'd have to beat out a traditional power in Brentwood. Now, Brentwood, I'm motivating Brentwood right now by talking about the possibility of them playing for 4th, but we'll see what happens. One thing I do know about Brentwood, doesn't matter the year. They seem to always be in the mix. So I do realize that. A little bit more about Centennial. I think before you talk about anything else, you got to talk about Canon Plowman. He's a young man that last year, you start reeling off the stats, Canon Plowman.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was going to say. he makes plays, right? So didn't matter what the outcome of the game was. All those games, he's making plays. And you got Josh Forsey coming back. He's making plays. You've got two guys that if you're out of position, they can beat you, right? And then the youngster, Kofi Boggs. For those that don't know about him, they'll know pretty early. They'll know before the month of August is over. But yeah, and that's the thing that Centennial's always had. They whether they're up or down, they always got guys that can make plays. They've got quite a few of those, namely those three that we just mentioned. Put the rest of it together, and that's trouble for some of the rest of the district.
Well, and I think what Coach Chryski would tell you, and if you guys ask him, I think he would admit this, the difference is going to be how the line does. That's where it's been a situation where they've been outmatched a little bit. So we'll see how it goes. Let's go to Fair. Oh, and I did want to mention the Forseys. I think you told me they're fans of the show. They're one
Big
of our
Williamson Sports Connection fans.
Sports Connection. I know everybody watching out there is big fans of Sports Connection. I always say it's the Simpsons of WCTV. Well over 500 episodes. It started with Ralph Ringstaff. Jack Daniels comes in afterwards. Jeremy Qualls takes it to a new level next, and then I'm just trying to keep it between the ditches.
I think, did our contracts get renewed?
They got renewed.
All right, we're on to another season.
And they actually tripled our pay.
Maybe, yes, that was big.
Hey, let's talk Fairview High School. Fairview's been a program that traditionally has been right there when you're talking Region 6 3A. Last couple of years, maybe a little bit of a surprise, losing in the first round. I thought last year with the pandemic and what the teams had to go through, it probably hurt Fairview as much as anyone. They were a team that had a couple of cases early on. They had to miss some practices. They had a lot of players that they were excited about. Nardozzi being one of them, Logan Nardozzi, gets banged up a little bit. I thought they had some bad luck last year. Not that we would blame it on all luck, but I thought they really had some bad luck. They lose a game, last game of the season, to finish second for the first time in a long time in that league. They have to take on a tough East Nashville team in the playoffs. Obviously, that didn't work out. So Fairview, I think they'll be back with a shot to win that region title again.
History says they'll be back, but I do think out of anybody in the county, I think they lose the most. You're losing Riley Bennett. How do you replace that guy? And then Nardozzi. I think they are losing the most. And you mentioned that. I believe that loss was to Stewart County, right? I don't think they ever – was that who it was? No, I mean the week 11 that that got them East in the playoffs. Yeah. I don't think they ever got over that.
I don't either.
And then that was a terrible first-round draw with East Nashville for them. So history says they'll be back. They're going to make a quarterfinal to semifinal run. But like I said, I think out of everybody, Nardozzi and Riley Bennett, man, those are going to be tough shoes to fill.
Multi-sport athlete, one of the and included on our media guide. By the way, a good time to mention Mr. Christian Taylor does a lot of graphic work for us in the district, not only for Ravenwood High School, but also the sports conference. Got great-looking media guides that our folks in the media have tonight with rosters and schedules in there, so I want to thank him. But Jacob Clevenger, he's the representative on the front page there or on the cover page for Fairview High School, another multi-sport athlete, made it all the way to the state championship in wrestling. Hey, and you mentioned Riley Bennett. You notice on our sheet here, key players lost. Riley Bennett's not listed. Hey, so Riley, if you're out there watching, this list was provided by your coach, Coach Hughes, so thank him. We think you were an important player that was lost.
That had to have been a typo.
Had to be a typo. We don't mind giving.
And the Clevenger, anytime, I don't know how many Clevengers are left, but I know Fairview hope there's a lot, because anytime you got one of them on the team, there's going to be some physical play.
No doubt. Hey, let's talk Franklin High School, another team that's going to look a lot different. They lost some guys. When you take a look at especially some of the skill players, of course you got Connor Bevan at quarterback, Taylor Spirito, Mr. Everything for Franklin last year, Carson Repass, a couple big guys up front, Ansler, Mason Jones. They lost quite a bit. They also lost their head coach. Coach Donnie Webb decided to hang it up. Alex Melton, name that probably sounds familiar. For those of you out there watching, he was defensive coordinator for Summit High School, and really he was like not co-head coach, but sort of. Coach Coleman basically said, hey, this guy, he is very much head coach of the defense. He was very excited about him getting the opportunity at Franklin. Looking forward to seeing what that looks like, a Franklin-led Alex Melton team.
No doubt. Very excited for him. Glad that he got the opportunity to be a head coach. Think it was the right guy. And you're right. He was the head coach of the defense. Coach Coleman trusted him, been with him a long time, and kind of like Coach Crawford with Coach Finch. You know, that was something he didn't have to worry about. The other thing, Coach Melton was huge in the weight room at Summit. So Coach Coleman's obviously a weight room guy, but anytime you lose a guy like that in the weight room, that's a big loss. So very excited about him. And then you mentioned the skill guys that they're losing. You got to think it's going to be a different look for Franklin this year. I'd forgotten until I think Kreger put it in his 50 questions, but Connor Bevan led the mid-state in passing. Now, how many people saw that coming?
A one-year starter.
Yeah.
Right?
And
One-year
I'm
starter.
pretty sure Repass was his leading receiver. So, you know, it's going to have to be a different-looking offense, not only just because of the coaching change, but because of the personnel change.
Do you think they will utilize Mr. Stanford commit, Fisher Anderson?
Yeah. I know what I think they'll probably run 27 tailback behind him about 20, 25 times a game.
If they don't, listen, Coach Melton, we're glad to help you out. We'll come over, help you out with the hey, Bryce Sparks, another guy, had some big games for Franklin last year. Look for him to make some explosive plays for Franklin.
Yeah, and we don't need to gloss over that either. Everybody in this room is a college football fan, knows about recruiting. Let me tell you something. Stanford doesn't come out here and offer a full ride to just anybody. I mean, that's pretty big. Fisher committing to Stanford.
Hey, and by the way, the Cardinal, you realize that's actually the band's mascot?
I did not know that.
If I'm not mistaken, you guys look this up. I think if you look that up, they don't have an official like school mascot. That's a band mascot, that tree that they've kind of taken over. It's not one bird, a cardinal. It's not what it is.
Do you think that's part of the recruiting
It's
pitch?
for the color. It makes sense for that academics, like a mind trick or something. I think you have to go to Stanford to understand it. He'll be joining, by the way, Jason Ansler from Franklin.
Yes.
Pretty neat.
What's he majoring in again? Can you pull it out?
No, I really can't remember what it was. And remember, when I looked it up, I didn't even know what it meant once we talked about it. I know he had a 36 on the ACT.
Yes.
Independence High School. Look, here's a school kind of like Brentwood. Regardless of the year, always competing. Scott Blade's team, one thing that's impressed me about his teams the last few years, because everybody knows about the offense with Coach Blade. Plug in a quarterback. Obviously, Jackson Campbell was a great talent. A lot of people forget he was a one-year starter at quarterback. I think he threw one interception. Was that right? Threw it late in the year? We talked about that. He threw his first interception late.
Yeah, it was under 5.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
How many was it? 3?
It wasn't many.
3.
So let's talk. I've been impressed because sometimes you'll look at them defensively and you're like, who are they going to stop? And they stop you just enough. I think the defense for Independence is traditionally underrated. People forget Coach Blade's background as a player and really early on coaching defense. Accurate?
Good. Yeah.
Listen, I've done my homework.
You did your research. That's
I've done
very
my
good.
homework.
Well, he plays a lot of guys, too. So
He does.
a lot of times the Independence defensive line, maybe not the biggest, right? But he's got them. He's got them slanting. They're creating chaos. And don't let that fool you. He's very heavily involved in the defense. But, yeah, man, they've always done that. There's been times when you go out there and their 3 down linemen might be 200 pounds of the heaviest. But they got a motor and they've got a scheme and they're creating havoc, and he's playing a lot of guys. He wants those offensive linemen fresh.
Wouldn't you say that's a lot like the old Jack Daniels teams?
Oh, yeah.
Very, very
He was
similar.
probably the first one in Wilco that did that.
Hey, let's talk
I
about
think it was
this.
a different mindset, but
Let's talk about this. I had the pleasure of watching the Brentwood Independence playoff game last year, standing by Doug Matthews. Daddy Doug.
he knows a little football.
He knows a little football, and I was proud for saying this because he agreed. We watched that game, and I said, hey, Coach, look, I'm a basketball coach. But as I watched this game, the number one next-level prospect on this field is Ty Lockwood. He agreed. Only a sophomore last year. I think he had 12 receptions in that game. Big-time prospect out of Independence. He was first year, moved in, I think, from Chicago. We're going to hear a lot more from Ty Lockwood this year.
Oh yeah, and the offers have gone up considerably since that game, and really maybe more than anybody who does a great job of a lot of the great coaches that I've respected through the years. You know, one thing they're good at is our guy's better than their guy, and they know how to get them the ball right. Who better than Coach Blade to make sure we get Ty Lockwood the ball a lot? And I'm telling you, man, Joe Cummings, they keep plugging in quarterbacks, right? And I was at the Riverdale 7-on-7. He can fling it, man. They plan on scoring a lot of points with him.
River Katina, another multi-sport guy. And listen, going to do a great job on the basketball court this year for Coach Mark Wilkins, new coach out there. I know the folks at Independence are going to be excited about basketball season too. Let's talk about Nolansville. Here's my question for you, Tate. Nolansville, 4A, they've been to the semifinals the last 2 years. Is it safe to say that a move up to 5A may be easier? Is that possible to say we're moving up in class, but maybe the competition is no tougher or easier?
I think it is in the playoffs, I mean.
Well, let's assume they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to worry about getting past Elizabethton now, right? Who's gone in 5A? Summit's gone. Beach is gone. So Henry County's still there, right? But, yeah, I think that's a very safe thing to say. That was just tough, man. I mean, two really great teams. Koutras gets hurt 2 years ago. And then last year, man, that Elizabethton team, we went to that game. They were really good, man, really good. Could have played with anybody that was in Cookeville. I think they could have played in any classification and been in the game, maybe Oakland, but I think they'd have scored some points on them. So, yeah, moving up to 5A might be the best thing for them. They're losing basically a 3-year starter and quarterback. But, yeah, I think that's a safe statement.
Well, and, not to belabor that point here, but a guy that I love, my buddy, Anthony Crabtree, Beach High School, he used to say to me, hey, listen, the times we won it, if we'd been in 4 or 6, forget it. Now, 6 probably becomes obvious, but he said 4 would have been really, really tough. He said, we were fortunate we were in 5A some of those years. Obviously a great team, great program, so I'll be interested to see how it goes. Hey, Ryder Gallardi, like you mentioned, tough loss. Grant Reeder, tough loss. But coming back, your man, maybe your favorite guy, Mr. Touchdown, Samson Johnson. How many touchdowns this year? I'm going to write this down. What do you got? You know he's going to get 1 a game because he always does.
I'm going 25.
Wow.
Hey, think about this.
He's a sophomore now.
Oh, he's a junior.
A junior. So
he'll be a junior.
What were his totals? Do we have his totals his first 2 years?
I know he's broke 1,000 yards both years.
Broke it as a freshman, which surprised us a little bit.
Yeah.
But he went next level, and every week you're going,
yeah,
Samson, guarantee he's going to score. Sometimes you would say a couple. Sometimes he did, 25 touchdowns.
Yeah, at least 25. Depends on how many playoff games they have. Think about that.
I wish I had his number from last year.
It doesn't matter if you're playing the county dump. You score 1,000. I mean, you rush for 1,000 yards as a freshman. That's big time in varsity football.
No doubt. Hey, let's talk a little Page. Now I'm getting the sense. I've been talking to Coach Rathbone a little bit. Coach Rathbone is one of those guys. Woe is us. We'll be lucky to score a couple touchdowns this year. I can tell by talking to him. He's real excited. And one of the reasons he should be excited, obviously 5-5 last year, which I think is better than a lot of people thought they would do, losing the first round of the playoffs to a very good Hillsboro team. He's excited because of Jake McNamara. He's really excited about him, obviously big-time prospect, Power 5 kind of guy. I can tell by talking to Coach, he thinks it's going to be a better year. Hey, he may be happy that they're getting rid of Summit. Nolansville moves in, which is going to be a nice little rivalry, right? But I can tell he's excited. I really can.
Yeah, I think so too. And McNamara is a big part of it. And he told us that when he first got there. Watch out, this guy's going to be really good. Tom and I talked about it. I think he might lead the mid-state in passing this year. He's that good. I think they're going to throw the ball a lot. And he's good, man. I mean, he's really good.
He is, and I think Coach Rathbone is an underrated coach. to be honest with you. He's a guy, and maybe part of it's his personality, doesn't want a lot of attention drawn to him. But I'm telling you, that guy does a solid job, and he is really, really, really excited about this team. And like you said, I think he's got a lot of good reasons to be excited.
Yeah, he's a no ego guy. He doesn't want to be up here right now. But we've talked about it a bunch. The bottom line is this: his kids play hard for him, man, every single year, and I think that's the biggest compliment as a coach you can have. You know what I'm saying? He's not a rah-rah guy. He's not a win one for the Gipper speech guy. But those kids play hard for him every year. And I know Owen Sachs is coming, but I'll tell you another one, Aiden Leaner, man. Weren't sure if he was going to be back in time. Those two guys on the offensive line, they're going to be a big part of it. If they can protect McNamara, which I think they will, they're gonna shock some people.
Got about 5 minutes here left, Tate. Let's talk about a couple of teams that I think folks are pretty excited about. You got Ravenwood High School, third new coach in the league in terms of new head coach, but not really. The prodigal son has come home. Will Hester, Coach Daniels obviously did a great job the past few years at Ravenwood. We're excited about the replacement, having Coach Hester come back. 7-5 last year. They lose in the second round to Franklin. Probably a disappointment, honestly, which, shows you the kind of program you have if that's disappointing to lose in the second round to a good Franklin team. They lost some guys, Colson, Brenningstool, to name a few, a couple of Power 5 guys, Clemson and Michigan. But you lose those guys, you're 7-5, but the expectations are even higher. Why is that? Well, Miles Pollard's a pretty good reason, right? He's going to Michigan. And they did okay in the transfer portal. It wasn't bad. They had Chris Parson come in. That's a pretty nice get, right? They got a lineman that's pretty tough too now.
I didn't think of it that way. That is a great.
Yes.
Now the Ravenwood people will tell you, they lived here before. Now Nolansville might claim rights to him.
I'm not saying anything illegal.
No, I know. But hey, it is legal now. So
of course.
Florida State commit as a junior at quarterback.
Not bad.
Yeah, not bad. And
he was he was a Brentwood Blaze guy.
That's right.
Back in the day, as a young guy. Sorry, go ahead, Tate.
No. So technically, he was here first. He just came back, kind of like we lent Coach Hester to Florence, Alabama for a couple years, and now he came back. But and what a great offense to be in if you can run and pass, and Coach likes to razzle dazzle. It's kind of Rector-esque. He's a trick player, a fake punter, gambler, right? So I think Chris Parsons is going to be a great addition to that. And the expectations are really high. I was looking at all the non-district schedules, though. They're all brutal. And then I looked at Ravenwood's NBA, the Wild Kitties of Battleground Academy, Life Academy. If you don't know about them, do some research on them. They've got 3 top 100 recruits on it, and then Hendersonville and JP2. So that's to go with their district games. So, yeah, Coach Hester thinks his team's really talented. He's real excited to be home. They're getting new turf, but man, they've got a really tough schedule, like the other 8 teams.
Final team we're going to talk about, they're moving up in classification. I think it'll be okay for them. Summit High School, again, state champion, big win in 5A in the championship over Oak Ridge. Brian Coleman doing a wonderful job there. Obviously, got to replace his defensive coordinator with the Coach Melton going over to Franklin High School. A couple names that it's pretty nice to have them back. Destin Wade, Keaton Wade, Brady Pierce. And, I'm big fans of the Wade's great kids, but, maybe as much as anything because they are University of Kentucky commits.
They got a lot of they got a lot of stock with you.
It
after
really
that, didn't they?
Listen, you guys are going to notice they're going to show up on the WCS Twitter a little bit more.
I will say this: you called it very early on.
I called it early.
Yeah.
I believe in Stoops, man.
Yeah, he's a stud, and I get it. You go up there, nice facilities, cool town, but we got a question on Twitter from Beetlejuice 28, and he was asking,
is he on the first hole at the Centerville?
No, that was Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
on the first hole, by the way, not the tee box, the hole.
No doubt about it. Here's what he was asking: what do you think the biggest question mark? The biggest plus for Summit is? Now, I know this. Don't take this the wrong way. Everybody talks about Destin and Keaton coming back. Here's the thing I think is the most important. They've got 4 of their 5 starting offensive linemen back.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Tate, As always, great to be here with you. We're excited about being at Mafiosa's for Football Media Day 2021. We want to thank Walker Chevrolet. Obviously, they make this thing happen. Tate, looking forward to hearing from these folks.
I love watching these young men come up here in this environment. That their maturity level is really cool, man. I would have been really bad at this when I was 17 years old.
Well, we've had some coaches improve, too, over the years, right? You talk about that.
A couple of them are here tonight.
A couple of them are already here. Lance, we want to take a couple-minute break. You guys will be back in a couple with Brentwood High School coach Clint Finch to talk about Bruins football. All right, we're now ready to start with our coaches. We've got first up Coach Clint Finch, first year at Brentwood High School in terms of being the head coach, certainly not new to the school. Coach Finch, if you'll introduce who's with you tonight, make an opening statement, and then we'll open the floor up for questions with our media. Thank you for being here.
No, thank you for having us. Let me start with my left. On my left is Aaron Walton. He's a senior H-back, played for us, has really essentially started since his sophomore year. Aaron last year had 72 catches and broke, what is 72? 72, I think, broke the school record for touchdowns last year. To my right is Jake Brock. Jake's another guy that's been on the field for us since he was a sophomore, leading tackler on the football team, and really just kind of another coach in the secondary. Besides being really good football players, both really, really fine young men. I had the pleasure of teaching them their freshman year in high school, so it's pretty cool to get to do this with two kids that I've known for as long as I've known them. I'm super excited about the opportunity to coach Brentwood High School football. This has been something that I've kind of dreamed about for a long time, and to have this opportunity has been nothing short of amazing. I tell everybody it's been a very humbling experience, but at the same time I feel very honored to have gotten to have it. Probably the best thing about being at Brentwood, and I've been at Brentwood, this will be my 14th year total at Brentwood, is getting to work with our young men that we have at Brentwood. I'm a big believer that we have really, really special kids at Brentwood High School, really, really special football players. We've been fortunate in our time here to, a lot of coaches say reload with kids, and that's kind of where we feel like we are this year. We lost a number of really talented football kids last year, but we feel like we've got a lot of guys stepping up to take those guys' place. Fortunate to have great senior leadership besides guys like Jake and Aaron. We've got Carter Patton, who's a great linebacker for us, defensive back for us. Seth Carter is a great linebacker for us. And Holt Jackson will be moving from DN to outside linebacker. On offense, we talked about it, I guess, in the pre-show, but Davis White is another senior who'll take over quarterbacking duties for us this year. Scotty Collins is back, and he'll really become the featured running back this year. And Sam Beasley is one of our returning offensive linemen who's had a great spring, great summer, and will anchor what we hope to be is one of our better offensive lines in the last few years. As always, we have a challenging schedule. We believe that Region 7 6A Williamson County football is a great football region. We think it's got great coaches, great kids, great fans. It's exciting to add Summit to that and to know that every Friday night your region game is on the line against a really good football team in a really good football region. At the same point in time, we feel like we are blessed to have a really strong non-conference schedule. Blackman, Father Ryan, Henry County, Hillsborough, and Beach. And you know, we have traditionally had really, really tough football schedules at Brentwood High School. We don't think this year is any different whatsoever. And I'll open it up to questions because I never have too much to say, but I've got to give kind of a shout out not only to my kids but my coaching staff. When Ron left, I was able to retain all those guys. They've done a great job making this a pretty easy transition for me. We're always blessed at Brentwood to have the best administration in the county, in my opinion. Kevin Kydell, great principal, and Joe Blair, great athletic director, makes my job really, really easy. So I don't know if that's a good opening statement or not, but I tell you what, it's over. So if you've got questions, start firing them.
Tom Krager, Tennessean. Coach, first, can you just talk about the new regions, Region 7 6A? Without Dixon, it's an all Williamson league, and then how much tougher does it make it? And I'm guessing every week is a rivalry game for you, at least every league game.
Which is really the cool thing about it is that I think our atmosphere on Friday nights, and we're crossing our fingers that everything's good to go this year, but it's a great atmosphere every Friday night in Williamson County games. Not only is it a great atmosphere, like I said before, I've got a ton of respect for the coaches in this league. I've got a ton of respect for the athletes in this league. It is absolutely a dogfight. There are no easy games in Williamson County. You've added Summit to it, which only makes it that much better. Incredibly well-coached, really talented football team. But you know what? That's what makes it fun. It's when you know that you got to go out and fight every Friday night, and you've got to battle to find that way to get into the playoffs. That's a pretty cool situation.
We talk about who you lost. When you talk about Kate Granzow, Walker Merrill, and House and all those, but y'all played a lot of players last year, especially in that, I'm thinking about that playoff game when you had all those guys traced, and then your quarterback gets hurt. I mean, you got to feel like, there's a lot of new faces, but a lot of them saw time on the field. Yeah. So one of the things, and I'm going to use a Ron Crawford quote here, is that we're a developmental football team. And so to pretend like losing a Cade and a Walker and a John, to pretend like that doesn't leave a void would be just pretending. It does. But what we feel like we do a good job of, and especially our kids do a good job, is every year stepping up to replace those voids. We're going to lose a lot of good seniors this year, and it's our job as coaches and it's our players' job to step up and take those kids' place. And we were fortunate that we were able to play a lot of kids. We're a two-platoon football team. So we take a lot of pride in getting kids ready to play the next year. And the last question for me for the players, what does it mean for you to now be in a league where every time you play a league game, it's going to be someone in your own county? Probably on a lot of occasions, you're going to know most of the players on the team. What's that going to be like this year when it's especially when you add Summit?
Sorry. I mean, we're all really excited. We've grown up playing these kids since middle school, and we're just really excited. It's another opportunity to get better every day and every game. And I don't know, Friday night atmosphere is just unmatched, and the fact that we know all of these guys and that we've grown up with them makes it really cool and special, I think. And just makes us better every week knowing that we had a good game every Friday night.
Yeah, Friday nights at James C. Parker Stadium are unmatched, so I mean it'll be fun to play against these kids that I've been playing against since middle school and playing them in basketball, baseball, all the other sports, so it'll be fun. I'm excited.
Coach, Brad DeShield with the Dash to Sports Network of Independence High School. My question to you, Coach, first is, how big is that transition? You've been offensive coordinator, and I might say you've called some good plays, so we know that very much. But anyway, talk about the difference in that transition from, being an offensive coordinator, now you're the head coach, still probably dabbling in that offense, I'm sure. But how do you give that up? How does that work, and how is that working right now for you?
So, I was blessed in that Ron really did a lot to kind of help prepare me to get this job, and that's been a tremendous blessing. I mean, I tell him all the time that I got the job because he believed in me and he trusted me to do it. You just go from being in a situation where you've got one side of the ball that's your focus to you've got to focus on everybody now. And that's fine. I really enjoy that. Again, what's made it easy for me is I have a great coaching staff that I have a tremendous amount of trust with. I have guys on there. Steve Brock is with me for 7 years. Charlie Sanford for 7 years. Gabe Evans for 7 years. My defensive coordinator's been with me for 4 years now. So to have that trust in my assistant coaches makes it a lot easier to know that I got good guys handling it. My buzzword is that this job is relentless, right? It just never stops. And that's a little different. That the phone doesn't stop ringing, the texts don't stop coming in, and the emails don't stop coming in. But again, to have an opportunity to lead a program like this, it's pretty cool when I can keep this thing on the road and going in the right direction. It's been a lot of fun.
Looking forward to playing you guys again this year.
That
game is always just
it's
Katie bar the door, right?
10 times since 2015, 5 wins for Brentwood, 5 wins for
Indy. It just doesn't matter what the records are.
No,
you just throw
absolutely
it out.
not.
For the guys, first of all, congratulations, team leaders, being senior. Congratulations on being here. Okay, cover your coach's ears, okay, and tell me maybe something that you really like about your coach, the new coach you've got now, because Ron's gone now. So, and then maybe something that's different, not bad, different, something that you're like, oh, he's doing this different, whatever. That may be a tough question, but he won't listen, I promise.
We have practice at 7 in the morning. Be careful.
Coach Finch always holds us to high expectations. He always talks about our standards and how nothing changes. And to be honest, I haven't really felt a change since we switched coaches. Feels the same old Brentwood.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, for anyone that knew Coach Crawford, you know his personality and his fire and everything about him. But I mean, I like to say that he was kind of our rock in our program, and him being gone, it hasn't really changed a lot, I think. But we just needed to all do our part and be like a pebble to build that rock back up. And Coach Finch, when he came in, the first thing he said to us right after was standards over circumstances. And we've been living by that every day. And this any adversity that it hits, we go through a lot of adversity. It's just another circumstance that we got to overcome. And I really like that. And I don't know, Coach Finch has been awesome. He's always there for us. We call him Dad. It's kind of funny because asking us questions over there. He's like the overwatcher of all of us and just make sure we're always good, always taking care of us. So we love him, and our whole team's a family. We all hang out all the time, and just it's just great. We're really excited.
Hey, Clint, Tyler Palmatier with Main Street Preps. I was just curious, what do you like about calling plays for the H-back position when you talk about Aaron, and do you kind of see his role increasing any more with the guys that left last year?
Yeah, so I can go into a whole coaching diatribe here. We actually don't call Aaron's position H-back. We actually call it a super back. And we stole that, I think, from Kansas State because Aaron's a guy that lines up at receiver. He lines up as an inline tight end. He lines up as an H off the ball, and he'll line up in the backfield as well. It's been a good deal for him because we can move him around, and we have a lot of ways to utilize those talents. If we went all the way back to 2016 and 2017, we had a kid named Caden Dreyer who could do all that. He's playing baseball at Samford now, where he's committed to play baseball. But it's just you've got to have a special kid in that position. He does a great job for us, and I will tell you this: it makes play calling a lot easier when you've got a kid that can do has a lot of different skill sets.
Do you think you'll use that position even more this year, possibly, or do you know yet?
Well, there are other coaches here, so I'm going to be really careful. But I'd say you better cover him on Friday night.
Aaron, what do you like about that role? I mean, it seems fun. You get to do a lot of different things.
Same thing he just said. Put me all over the field. It's fun. Can block, catch, score. I like it. It's a good position.
He's our Swiss Army knife.
What makes it conducive for scoring touchdowns at the rate you did last year?
Well, some of them, the teams were just double teaming Walker, so I was just wide open on some of them. So, I mean.
Has your recruitment picked up at all, Aaron, in football? Where does that stand?
Okay. I left my options open for football and just seeing what's out there. Just because after the season, I got some interest, but I got a good opportunity at Sanford. It's a great school. Love my coaches. So
appreciate it.
Got time for a couple more?
All right, so Coach Finch, this is for you and your players. Coming up so short last year, making it to the state championship game, do you feel like your team has had extra motivation on wanting to hoist the crown this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and last year was a challenging year with all the COVID, but it was also a very successful year for us. To get there and get to the big game and not be able to get it done, there's something to be said about getting a taste for it, and then once you develop a taste for it, wanting to go back and take part in it again. I think our kids felt like they had got there, they feel like they deserve or they wanted to earn that chance to go back and get back there again. And it's certainly been a motivating factor. And we understand what it takes now, right? I mean, to get to Cookeville, I guess this year in Chattanooga, to get to that point in time is a long season. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of sacrifice, a lot of dedication. And I think all our kids understand that. And I think, we set a goal to get better every night and to play as many football games as we can play over the course of the season. And to be able to go down to Chattanooga this year would be a pretty awesome experience.
Coach Chris Brooks, 615 Preps. Davis White gave us a kind of a taste of what he could do in that first-round playoff game. What has his development been like in the offseason, getting ready to be a starter for the first time?
So, Davis Davis has been incredibly patient, but not just being patient. He's done a great job of preparing himself for this year. Okay, and Davis actually has a lot of snaps. If you go back and you look, Davis, when Davis was a freshman, he would play half the freshman game, half the JV game. He's got a lot of snaps his sophomore year. Of course, last year when Cade went down against Cane Ridge, he got us through that game, did an exemplary job. He has playoff experience, did a great job when Cade went down in the state championship game. Yes, he's a first-year starter, but it's not like he's a new kid to the school. I've got a tremendous amount of trust in him. I got a lot of faith in him. He's a savvy football player. He can make stuff happen. So we feel really good about Dave this year.
And one for Jake real quick. Defensively, you guys are going to see a lot of skilled players go through there every week of the year. How much does that excite you knowing you're going to get up against a lot of just really talented players on the other side?
I mean, yeah, we love it. We know we have a chip on our shoulder being Brentwood, and we love it. We know we're not always going to be the biggest, we're not always going to be the fastest, but we kind of live by that. And we drive that drives us. Coach Kane is our new defensive coordinator, and he's been awesome so far, and we all love him, and we're behind him. And we have a lot of guys coming back, and so we're really excited for that. And just exciting to know you're playing Division I talent every week, and it drives us to be even better every day at practice, every snap, every drill. So yeah, we love it.
All right, thank you, Coach Finch, Brentwood High School. Give him a hand, please. Good job. Let's leave the mics there.
Thank you for having us.
Next up, we've got Centennial High School. Coach Chryski, if you guys will come on up. Get Coach in the middle here. Centennial High School and Coach Chryski, 2-8 last year, missed out on the playoffs, but like Tate and I talked before, I think the expectations are playoffs or bust, so to speak. I know it's going to be tough in this league, but Coach Chryski, if you would, introduce who's here with you, give us a little bit on the outlook for the season, then we'll take questions from the media.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And Mr. Jones, we appreciate you doing this. I don't know if you know, most of you know my brother coaches in Rutherford County, so I give him a hard time all the time about what great job that y'all do here in Williamson County. We really appreciate it. First here to my left, I got Josh Forsey. Josh rushed for almost 900 yards this last season for us. He also played outside linebacker last year. He's going to bump into inside linebacker this year for us. Josh is a hard-nosed football. He's started the past 3 years for us. He's one of our senior leaders this year. Done a great job leading this team in the entire offseason and up to practice ever since the dead period. So we're really fortunate, having Josh this year. One thing, it's one thing I really like about Josh. I think, both these guys here, they kind of have the same mentality as me. They don't say much in practice. They're not a rah-rah guy. They're not going to come out and say much, but they're going to strap up every single day and come to work and do what they're supposed to do. To the right of me, I have Canon Plowman. Canon's been playing varsity since his freshman year. We had to throw him in his freshman year at quarterback. We had to travel down to Murfreesboro, Riverdale, and play them. He started as quarterback there, and we were fortunate to beat them in a last-second field goal. Both these guys have a lot of experience. We have 17 seniors this year. It's one of the smaller classes that we've had in a while in Centennial. Just like you said, when you're coming off a 2-8 season, you've got to kind of rebuild. And these two guys are going to help us get this ship back on track and get it going in the right direction. With that being said, I know earlier they mentioned us as being a little bit young. Youth-wise, we've got about, I believe it's 6 guys on both sides of the ball that are returning starters. With those 6 guys, we've got numerous guys that seen some playing time for us this previous year. Our quarterback, Brennan Jones, is coming back. He played significant time last year. And one thing about Brennan, past 2 years, we haven't had anybody push at the quarterback position. We've got Sam Cochran and also Dominic Reed Sam's a junior. Dominic's a sophomore. Dominic did a good job for the JV freshman team last year. So we have a little bit more competition this year at that position than we have had in years past. And like I mentioned before, we can always throw this guy here to the right of me at that. You know, he's an athlete. Cannon is an athlete. He'll do, you know, he's a team player. He'll do whatever we need him to do. And if it comes down to us having to throw him in at quarterback, he'll do it. You know, receiver-wise, we've got Cannon returning. Kofi Boggs will be a rising sophomore. Camden Brock will be a sophomore. Dominic Reed will play our tight end, H-back. You know, so all those guys saw Devin Reed, saw some time last year at tailback. He's moving to more of a tight end / H-back position for us. So they're all returning. The O-line, we got Donovan Smith, who saw some time last year. We got both Keegan and Jeremiah Scruggs, who are going to help us both on the offense and defensive line. They primarily were defensive guys last year. They're going to help us in situation times offensively. New guy to the offensive line is Alex Melendez. Melendez has worked extremely hard this offseason. Again, looking like they mentioned earlier, we're a little bit undersized up front, but we've done some things as a coaching staff on both sides of the ball that we feel like is going to help benefit us this season and with this league. Schematically doing some things very different offensively than what we have in the years past. And so the guys have embraced the role of what we've installed in offense. That's why it was good this year for us to have a spring, all of June, and now July to get our new offense installed and what we're going to be doing. So we're hoping offensively we'll have a little bit of advantage of helping us out with our undersized linemen. And it's definitely going to help Josh out with what we're doing and motion and some of the things with getting Cannon the ball in space and things that we're doing. Again, defensively, we're moving to a four-man front. You know, Jeremiah Scruggs, an all-region player. He's going to play that shade technique. I know some of you may know Jeremiah, about 5'10", 300 pounds, and you know he's going to be able to hold that A gap for us. Again, the inside linebackers, we got 4 guys that can come in at inside at any time. Josh is one of those guys. Dylan Bruton, Tanner Lee can also come in and help out. Again, Tanner's a sophomore. Josh, like I mentioned, Josh will help us at inside. Cannon's going to play some secondary for us. You know, you'll see us heavily a lot of sophomores and juniors, and then you know we got the seniors that's been with us the past 4 years. All those guys will be playing significant. You know, one of our mottos this entire off season is no excuses. You know, that's been our entire motto this off season. You know, this region's tough. You know, you heard them talk earlier. You know, it's going to be a tough task for us to make the playoffs. Like they mentioned earlier, we don't see it that way. We're going to cause fits to the 5 opponents that we play this year in the region. These guys are going to come out and compete. These 2 guys are going to be the leaders of this. And, you know, we're hoping that when we walk off the field on Friday night that the opponent's going to know who Centennial are and what they're about. And that's, again, the entire no excuses motto. We're using it not only for these kids in this league of who we play against, but also as these guys grow older and move forward in life. You know, you can't make excuses and be successful in life. You know, that's been our whole motto this all season. You can't make an excuse. It is what it is. We got to find a way to get better. We got to find a way to overcome and get to the top of the mountain where we want to be. So at this time, if you got any questions, these guys love to talk just as much as me.
All right. First question I got is to Josh and Cannon. Talk about, like, every opponent you faced in here is in the county now. Does it help you or hurt you that every team can know what you like to do on offense or defense?
Did you say, can you repeat that for us?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I said with every opponent you're facing in region is in Williamson County now, do you feel like familiarity they have of your offense and defense helps you or hurts you?
I'd say, you know, they know we can do, and we're going to do it every Friday night. You know, we got guys that can play, and then they're going to watch film on us no matter what. So, we're going to come out there and give it to them. If they know what we're going to do, we're going to do it. So it doesn't really matter if they know what we're going to do. It's just how they're going to stop us.
Adding on to that, like Coach K talked about, this offseason we kind of changed up our offense and our defense. So they can watch the film from last year, but it's going to be a little bit different this year, and we have confidence in what we're doing, and we're going to go out there every Friday night and do everything we can to win, no matter who we're playing.
Add on, we also got a lot of different guys being able to play different positions. So, we can switch it up on them, and they don't know exactly where we're going to be at a certain time, which will help us a lot.
Yeah, and I like to piggyback off that too, like what Canon said. And last year we pretty much had just one set of stars. This year we've got at the receiving core we can play 6 to 8 guys this year. We haven't had that in the past 2 years. At tailback we got 3 or 4 guys. We got Josh, we got Xavion Haddix, we got Tanner Lee, we got Josh Rowan. So we have more depth at the skill positions than what we've had in the past couple of years, and we're going to help. We feel like that's going to give us an advantage. We're going to be able to spill Josh some on defense with different guys. Same with offense. Xavion's going to start on defense for us, but he's also going to be able to come in and give Josh a breather on offense. So that's what we're excited about. And like I mentioned, the quarterback position. We've never had 3 or 4 guys that we feel confident in throwing there at any time at the quarterback position. So we're feeling good. These guys are excited. They're bringing energy every day, and we can't wait to get going.
Oh, and one more question. This is for Coach Chryski. You had a very youthful team last year. Having a more experienced team this year, how do you feel like that'll help you for this season?
I think it's going to benefit us greatly. I tell these guys all before. When I first got into coaching, I was a part of a team that was 2-8. The next year, we had no stars, nobody on that team that was going anywhere. They won a state championship. So anything can happen. These guys bring the energy every single day. They do everything that we ask them to do, and they're ready to make a statement in Williamson County that we belong in this league. We're supposed to be here. We're not going to make an excuse, and we're going to come ready to play every Friday night.
Coach Chris Brooks, 615 Preps. It's been a couple of years since you guys have made the playoffs. What would it mean to get back there this year, given how much harder the league's gotten?
I mean, like you mentioned earlier, it's going to mean everything. It's going to be tough. We don't have a Dixon County in there anymore. We were fortunate the entire time they were in the league, we were able to beat them, and it always came down to us and Franklin. Past 3 years, we have not been able to beat Franklin. So these seniors have not beat Franklin. So that's on their mind. That's on our mind. The Battle of Franklin is a huge game. It's always a great battle. Any game that we play in the county is always a great battle. These guys got a chip on their shoulder. They want to leave this Centennial program and get it back where it belongs and where it needs to be in Williamson County.
How excited are you guys to be on the turf this year?
It's definitely gonna be a little different. We had a pretty nice field last year, but definitely excited to have a new, fresh turf to play on, and I think it'll be good for us.
I'm excited. They've been making a lot of progress earlier than I thought they would have, and it looks good. We see it every day when we go to practice, and I'm excited to play on it.
Hey, if you guys would, as we bring the microphone around each time, I know we know who you are, but so the folks that are watching at home, tell us who you are in the publication. So we're going to bring it back to Joe and Charles here.
These are my 2 favorite guys right here. They take care of me.
Thank you, Joe Williamson Herald. Coach, I know you're excited about the turf. I was up by there the other day. I guess my question is, are they going to get done in time?
Yes, the turf will be done in time, right, Mr. Jones? But yeah, they, like Canon just mentioned, they came out this week and they started laying. They're almost, when we left today, it was almost about midfield. So we're hoping the next day, guys told me, once they get going, it's going to take them 10 to 14 days. So we're hoping by that first week, because we open up at home against Overton on August 20th. So it's going to be done, and these seniors can't wait to get on and play that first game.
And guys, what's it going to be like as the seniors to be part of that first group that plays on a facility that is finally upgraded to where it should have been years ago?
It's definitely quite exciting. We got a new locker room as well. It's really nice to have some nice, clean lockers, and also to be able to play on fresh turf. which will be a good experience for us.
I think it's definitely exciting. I think it's something that we'll always look back on when we're out of college and growing. And we'll be able to say when we go back to Centennial, we'll be able to say we're the first ones to play on the turf, and the lockers, we were the first ones to have those. So, and we're blessed to have new stuff. So.
Yeah, like mentioned, we're getting the turf, but also the new locker room just got installed over the dead period. Wood lockers, 100. We went from 70 lockers to 100 lockers. Huge upgrade. Wooden, they're really nice. So, man, just being able to fundraise and get these facilities taken care of before these guys graduated. They've done a lot for CHS, and so we're proud to be able to upgrade not only the locker room but also the field turf.
Hey guys, Charles with the Williamson Herald here as well. Want to know a little bit more about it seems like we're hearing chip on the shoulder, things like that. Talk about the culture of the program here, what you guys are trying to leave, especially you seniors here, and just that shift overall it seems like we've been seeing and building up to for this year.
Yeah, definitely in our senior class, we stuck together. You know, we lost a couple guys over the season. People left, people joined. But definitely this year, not just a senior class, but everybody on the team is a lot closer than in years past. Obviously, there's a little bit of class division, but it doesn't really feel like that it has in the past. Everybody's kind of everybody's friends from senior to freshman. Everybody's buddies. We're all hanging out, and that definitely helps with being able to face tough competition. You know, definitely when we're down late fourth, we need a comeback or something. Looking to your friend, it doesn't matter if it's a senior or a freshman, to step up. We can believe in that person to step up, and that will definitely help us down the road and down the stretch.
Like you said, I think we definitely have a chip on our shoulder. We're aware of what people think about us, and we're aware that we don't have the star power like teams like Ravenwood and Summit, but I mean, we're going to go out there every Friday, and we don't really care who we're playing. Like, we're going to go out there and try and beat every team that we play.
And then these guys are a testament to what's been going on this offseason. Just like, you know, finish a team period or some type of competition period, either in between practice or middle practice. You know, it's fun because these guys are really competing this year. They're getting after it. If they're on offense, either one of them on offense or defense, that they're really leading that group that they're on. And it's fun to watch that, you know, they don't want me to blow that whistle this year in practice. These guys will stay out there as a team as a whole and keep going until I have to say, no, we've got to stop. And that's what's been so much fun. It reminds me of my first year at Centennial with that group I had my first year. These guys really remind me, bringing back a lot of memories from those groups. And, you know, coming that group that I had, you know, just changing coaches and things like that. And you know, we were picked low that year. And, you know, we upset some people, was able to win the region. You know, these group of seniors and this whole team reminds me of that group as we're moving forward.
Coach, can you just talk about what you guys learned with having to deal with last season with everything so up in the air, and especially what can you take that to 2021, especially with, you know, it's still the dreaded C word is still in the news. I mean, what can you? I mean, we know a lot more, so you got to feel a little bit more ease that everything's going to be okay. But, you know, what did you learn from it?
Well, I'm a big schedule guy. You know, I like to make my yearly calendar in February. I like to make my practice plans a week in advance, so all the coaches have it, so everybody knows, the parents and everybody knows what's going on. I learned how to adapt with change. I learned how to an hour before practice, I may have to change the entire practice schedule. You know, just being able to get these kids out on the practice field last year and practicing was a success. You know, yeah, we maybe not had a successful season, but those seniors being able to play last year was a success. It didn't matter, you know, I took a lot of things as a coach for granted, you know, because, you know, the way I was taught it from my mentor, you know, boom, you say this, you got to go this way. And I learned how to adapt from change, adapt from schedules, and still have a successful practice. And I'm still able to do that now. So I've learned from that as we move forward. And I've done some things in practice this year, may not have been on the schedule. In years past, as a head coach, I wouldn't have changed. I would have stuck to the schedule no matter what.
And one more question. We've talked about turf a lot, but when the finished product happens, when it's ready to be played on, what does that mean for you, for the program to see it? You know, we all know what it looks like with all these other schools, but for you guys to see it, where you can get on there and play, what would it mean for the program?
You want me to answer it then for you?
You know, it means a lot. You know, a lot of schools before Brentwood's had turf for several years. We've gone over there. We played on their turf. It definitely helps a lot, especially we played Innsworth last year, and it was definitely a mud bowl. So being able to play on in a game where it's not just a mud bowl and sliding around all the time will definitely help. And as well as definitely advancements for Centennial. We got Kevin Dyson coming in. He's doing a lot of advancements with us. He's talking about upgrading the weight room. And being able to have that turf and new lockers and new weight room equipment still helps a lot, and it means a lot for us as players.
I mean, I think it just shows how we're growing, not even as a team, but like as a school. As we've said, we've got new lockers, we've got new turf, and we're just excited about how else we can grow in the future.
It's going to be special. The first August 20th, the first game. Centennial community is a really tight-knit community that, you know, it's things, they don't take things for granted at Centennial. When something happens, you know, something special, it means a lot to the Centennial community. And I feel like the first night that we play on turf, that the entire Centennial community is going to show up. They're going to be proud to see turf at the CHS field. And seeing these guys run out on the field for the first time, having things that other schools in the county have, and it's a big testament to Mr. Jones over here. You know, I love having him as county AD. He's pushing a lot of things for athletics, and it's fun to see him, the work that he's doing behind the scenes. I don't think he gets enough credit for the things he's doing for William County sports, not only you know, football, the entire athletics of Williamson County. It's great, and I can't wait to see, you know, the next 5 years, what he does with athletics. I know he has a lot of things in mind. And Centennial, you know, I've seen numerous people throughout the community that's had kids play at CHS come and take pictures, come and just walk and just look and check, see how it goes. It's going to mean a lot to the community that first night on August 20th, and it's going to be very exciting for these guys to run out in that field.
Thank you, guys. Good job. Let's give them a hand. Great job. You know, I'm reminded as these guys walk off the stage, and I know Tate alluded to this earlier, it's always so impressive to see these young people get up here and answer these questions just so professionally. So really proud of them and doing a great job. Next up, we've got Fairview High School. Coach Chris Hughes and Fairview, if you guys will come up. Coach in the middle here. You guys will sit right on that wood. That'll be good. Like kind of get in there if you can. Let me take your mic real quick. All right, next up we got Fairview High School, Chris Hughes. You know, it's interesting to me, and I mentioned this earlier, Fairview finishes 7-4 last year, and, you know, most people would say, okay, that's okay. They ended their run in terms of winning region championships, and I know Coach was so disappointed about that. It's pretty interesting. You can be devastated and finish second. I did say this, Coach, before you guys came in, and I know you wouldn't make an excuse, but I think in terms of what happened last year, Fairview probably had the worst luck of all in terms of when things happen, and we were trying to figure things out, and they missed practice for a ton of days. So honestly, when you look at that 7-4 record, I think if that's a normal year, it looks a lot different. So I did want to say that when they came up, and again, I know Coach Hughes won't make excuses, but I think it's important to mention that. So we got Chris Hughes here, Fairview High School. Coach, if you would, introduce who's with you, give us a little bit of an outlook on the season, and then we'll take questions from the media.
Well, I'm glad I didn't have to make an excuse since Darren made one for me. I appreciate him doing that. We should have won the region. There was no excuse. Sam Hammond is my center. He is a senior. Really hard, good kid that plays the game the right way, and is also on the wrestling team that won the state championship. And then Jacob Clevenger, he's my middle linebacker and my fullback, tailback, wherever I need him to play. And he also is a big wrestler and was a big part of their state championship run. So these two guys are going to be instrumental in our success this year. Wherever we go, both of them will have a big hand in it. And that's why I brought them here tonight. I'm not sure where I go from there. Am I just supposed to keep talking? Tom's going to ask me.
All Can we get a turf update? And you kind of surprised everyone with I didn't realize you were also getting a video board at the same time.
Well, I had a video board and I had a scoreboard, but they were up on a hill beside each other. So now we've paid to have them stacked and brought down, and it is a mammoth undertaking. It's really going to be like it catches your eye when you walk out. So it's going to really accent that turf that's going to be there one day, I hope. I get more nervous every day, Tom, when I look out there. It's not ready right now. Of course, we got our first game's away. The other two schools are at home, so we'll be the last one. Our drop dead date is August 25th, and our game's on the 27th. But they are working on it every day, so progress is being made.
Highlighter yellow, is it going to look okay?
I asked. You knew I was going to ask.
Yes.
The county probably tells me no more than anybody because I was always taught if you want something, ask for it. So I just called and asked. I asked for yellow turf with black lines. I asked for a lot of things that I didn't get. And then some of the things we didn't get, we got on our own. So I think it's going to be awesome, and it's so exciting for our community and our kids. I mean, having a turf field, I was just talking to Coach Finch about it. It's a game changer. So I'm excited.
How the two players you're with, they're both wrestlers. How from a football side of things, how does that help their football ability being also a wrestler?
That's so funny you said that because Bubba Derrick was in my office yesterday, and we were talking about my best players are also wrestlers because it's a mental toughness that you can't get in any other sport, getting on the mat and going one-on-one. And I've got some kids right now that he wants to wrestle, and he's explaining to them, look at these kids. Look how good they are at football. It's because they came out and they toughened up on the wrestling mat. So I think wrestling and football go hand in hand. I think if you've got and they won the state, first ever state championship. So Bubba beat me to the punch. You know, I was planning on doing that. We're way far behind him now. So I think people still like me better than him, Tom, but they did win the state, and these two sports are meshing great. So.
And I think I forgot to introduce myself, Tom Kroger at the Tennessean. Coach, we talked about all the bad luck that you got, and obviously it's still in the news. It's kind of making another encore, you could say. But just what have you learned, and how can what you went through last year, how will that help you this year, knowing that it's still going to be around?
I got that little magnet on my refrigerator. It says control the things that you can, and then you have to deal with everything else. So we're just taking it as it comes. It's changing daily again. I mean, I hate that, a lot of the things that happen. Last year, we had such bad luck that we got shut down the very day of a game, had to call and cancel on an opponent who was very upset with us. And I know Darren had to deal with that with me. And then the next time, we had an opponent cancel on us the very next time. We went 2 or 3 weeks. It was like spring practice. We weren't getting any work. And we ended up having to go to Lebanon. Lebanon didn't have a game. We showed up on a Saturday, played a Saturday afternoon, which was awesome. First half, we held with them. They ended up beating us, but it was real good. Lebanon's a big school. I think it helped us. But I feel like because of everything they went through, and I'm just talking about my team, there's a little bit more burnout than normal. It was like, are we going to play this week or are we not going to play? Is this game going to happen? We got 20 more people out this week. So that was the thing to deal with, and I'm hoping that we can get back to a little normalcy this year.
Coach Brad DeShiel of the Dash to Sports Network covering Indy football. We don't play you guys, but I do follow a lot of the county schools, and you guys are fun to follow because if you get beat, I'm like, what happened? I mean, it's kind of like you guys just don't lose a lot.
I do the same thing.
Well, I bet you do. Anyway, my question to you, and also to the guys, talk about that opening game. I mean, it's, the battle at 840.
Who do we play week one?
Some team called Page.
Oh, Page.
Yeah, Page.
All right, that's right.
So that's always the big game. So let's
is.
talk about that a little bit and how that's been a rivalry and what does that mean to the players, to the team, and to you?
Independence is one of the few teams in the county we haven't played. I don't know, I guess because Scott Blade likes to steal all my plays. But when we played Nolansville, we played Ravenwood, we've played, I don't think we played Brentwood. We played Page, we played Summit. So in the history, since I've been there, we've tried to play at least 2 schools. Sometimes it works out not. In fact, I was talking to Donnie. We were trying to work out a game with Franklin and Fairview this next 2 years, and the dates were messed up. Like, it's so tough because I need week 2, I need week 7. I need, that's the kind of things you run into. And then you're calling somebody to move, then you lose both games. So y'all know the headache that is to deal with. But I do like playing the other county schools. For one, it doesn't count. So if Page beats us really bad, it doesn't matter. We're still 0-0 in the region. And it does nothing but make our kids better because we've seen a 5A school that's usually one of the top 10, 15 schools. And they're tough, they're fast. This year their quarterback's real good. And we're going to be playing Martin Westview, who has a real good quarterback too. So we're going to see some good quarterbacks. And it's just a good test for us. I can always tell after the Page game how our season's going to go. And that's why I had such high hopes last year. I think Page was shocked that we beat them last year. And we came out of that and everything was rolling. And then we won a couple more and started going. And then that stuff happened and we got shut down and we never really fully recovered. So, but I do think this year we'll know a lot about who we are after that game. And that's why I like playing it. And Coach Rathbone and I both don't like it first game because it's a big rival. They have, but our kids have a perspective to know, hey, we're going to give them our best punch. If we get it, great. If we don't, nobody likes to lose. And I say that all the time, probably gets me in trouble, but if you like to lose, you're probably a loser. And so that's what I tell them. I said, don't come in, we don't like it. We just have to handle it the right way. And but I'm excited about the Page game and others, and maybe we'll get Coach Blade one day. When he's on a down couple years, let me know, because you work for him. So if you find out, hey, it's rough coming up, let me know. I'll try to schedule him. That sound good? All right.
Hey, I want to know a little bit. Oh, sorry, Charles with the Williamson Herald. Guys, tell me a little bit about the expectations on your point of view here. What are we going to see from the Fairview boys this year?
When you're going through and you're looking at our team, I mean, obviously we don't have the fastest players. We don't have the most athletic when you compare ourselves to other teams. But I think the one thing we do have that's going to surprise everybody is our physicality. I think when we come out to these games, we're going to punch people in the mouth and we're going to show them who we are. I know that we've lost a lot of seniors, and when you're looking at our team compared to last year, you look at us and you're like, they're not the same team. And you're right. We're not the same team. Last year we weren't physical, but we had athleticism. And when we were going to our games last year, we expected a win. I think that's part of the reason we lost. Is every game we went into, we were like, we are bigger, we are better, and we are more athletic than these teams. Well, this year we don't have that talent. So when we're going into these games, I think what we have is physicality. In these practices, full pads, we just started back up. I mean, we're hitting really hard. And it's not just us, and it's not just the elites, the veterans that have been there for a while. I mean, you're seeing our freshmen going head-on with us. I mean, and they're not letting up either. So I think going into these games, it's going to be fun, not only just as a sport, but just be able to hit again and actually have a full schedule.
We just talked about this, Charles, and they argue with me because I said, you can't spell physical without the F in Fairview. And they all looked at me like, what do you think, Sam?
I like being the underdog, really, because you have nothing to lose when you go out there and play. You're just leaving it all on the field. And Coach Hughes mentioned the other day in practice, he said his brother, when he got done playing games, that he had to help carry him into his room at night, and he didn't want to get out of bed the next day. In my opinion, that's the way the game needs to be played. You leave it all out on the field.
My brother played in 1973. And literally the principal and coach would roll him out of the car, and me and my dad would pull him into his room, and he literally couldn't walk hardly because he was a 125-pound right guard. And that was rough back in those days. But I told those guys, I said, when you really play hard and you leave it, if you play that physical brand, you're gonna feel it. Like you're gonna be sore the next day. You're gonna have that, but you're gonna feel better because you left it all out there. And I think Jacob and Sam are two of the reasons that our mental focus this year is really on being physical. Probably be a lot more of a pound-it team than a throw-it-around team. And young quarterback, with whoever starts at quarterback will be young because they haven't started before. And some good receivers, but I think we've got some big backs and a line that'll fire off the ball. So I'm interested to see that, and I feel like defensively a lot of people returning that like to hit. So we'll see how it ends up. And got some scrimmages and a couple more weeks to get ready before we have to face Page.
Coach Joe Williams from the Herald. Just wondering, who set your region schedule for you?
Me. The region schedule was set up with it's so weird. Like every region's different. You know, we started. This is a brand new region.
Right.
We got White House Heritage, White House, Waverly, never been in. So they all had this way of doing it. So we really did a blind draw. And then if you notice, I got like 4 away games in a row. I feel like we're going away. There's no homecoming is October 22nd. You know, it may be snowing at our homecoming. So we've had it canceled for rain, but I don't think we've had it canceled because it's 15 degrees outside. But next year, all those games will be at home. So it'll be a long home stretch. And in 2 years' time, I'll try to fix that. I apologize. You're not the only one to yell at me about that, though.
I'm not yelling.
So,
I'm just sitting here looking. You travel to Cheatham County, White House Heritage, go back to White House next week. Camden, you're in there in the middle of it. It's not a regional game, but it's still a.
Do you want to know how many miles that is?
Yeah, I was going to say. I was going to ask the guys. So, what are you going to do with your frequent flyer miles? Is this like spring break for next year? Because you guys are going to roll up some mileage.
I think it's going to be a little rough. Start out with, I mean, normally we don't play our best when we are away, but I think we're going to be able to fix that real fast. I mean, it's all about the mental attitude. Because, I mean, being away from home is a big difference. But, I mean, being home is no different because we're getting a new field. So playing on that new field is a lot different than playing on that grass. So when you're putting your hand in that dirt and it's raining, I mean, it's a lot different when you're carrying that ball and it's muddy. And I think it's going to be a big change for a whole team this year. I mean, whether it's away or home, we got to adjust to the turf. So we got to step up this year for sure.
I'll tell you what we're not going to do, Tom. We're not going to charter buses. I've done that twice, and we got beat both times when we were a heavy favorite. They will ride in a hot school bus with the windows down all the way to where we're going and get off mad because we got off sleepy and full and played like that. So that's not going to happen again.
Sam, I know you're looking forward to that trip, aren't you? All 4 of it.
100%.
Charlie Bateman, Williamson homepage. Coach Hughes.
Charlie, you know we're in Williamson County. Did you know that?
Yeah, I know that.
Okay, all right. I want to make sure.
Yeah, I knew that. Fun fact, I had 2 cousins that went to Fairview. So
You been to Fairview?
Yeah, so
All
I'm
right,
very
all right.
familiar with your school. Coach, with the tradition you had getting knocked out in the first round, how has your team used that as motivation this year?
You ever ate something real sour and you couldn't get that taste out of your mouth? We've had that now for about 9 months. So I think every one of our guys are itching to get back out and prove that we belong on that field because that wasn't our best foot forward. And when you lose a game like that, you just look forward to the next game and you want to prove that you belong there. So, and that first game at Page is going to be tough, but it left a bad taste in our mouth. We're not trying to get to the first round. When I start coaching a team to try to make the playoffs, I'm probably going to find something else to do. Our goal is to win a state championship, and we fell short every year, but we'll never stop shooting for that goal. When I ask my kids, what do you expect? They need to say, what do we expect?
State championship.
If they don't, then we have to have a talk. So that's what our ideal is. Not the first round. It's not the second round. We've got to get over a hump. We haven't been past the third round. We're 2 games away, but we've been there several times. And I think mentally this team is focused to get there. Now, can they put it all together on the field?
Chris Brooks, 615 Preps. Coach, you guys wore the yellow uniforms at Lebanon last year. I was over there for that. Y'all going to do it on the road every game this year, too?
Well, you know what I tried to do last year because I really like these uniforms is I tried to do color rush every game. I convinced a couple. Lebanon got convinced. I had a couple people convinced. If not, we've got some really nice white uniforms that we haven't worn in a while, so we'll put those on. I haven't talked to Rathbone yet, so we did that over there, and then we won, so he's probably not going to let us do that again. So we'll probably be in white the first game. But I like these uniforms a lot. Thank you, Tate Matthews, for the custom Adidas uniforms. Appreciate that.
Any final questions for Coach Hughes? Thank you. Appreciate it. Good job, guys. Nice job, and I know this has come up a couple of times. This has come up a couple of times, but we do have 3 schools you guys have mentioned who are getting turf fields: Fairview High School, Centennial High School, Ravenwood High School. Very excited about that. We'll have 7 out of 9 schools. If we could, let's get Franklin High School Coach Alex Melton to come forward, please, Coach. Come on up, guys. Let's get one of you on each side of Coach. So you could sit as close to this wood as you can, Fisher. Coach, I'll do an introduction and give you the mic. Mentioned earlier that we have 3 new head coaches in the league. One is Will Hester at Ravenwood, so he's not totally new. He was at Ravenwood before. Alex Melton is another one of those, taking over at Franklin High School this year, but he's not new to the league, as most of you know. Defensive coordinator at Summit High School, and coach came in and did a Sports Connection show with me a couple of years ago. It may have been last year, actually, and we had talked with Coach Coleman and Coach Melton, and at that time, Coach Coleman said, "Believe me, this is a guy that's ready to go." He was very much the head coach of our defense, just like Coach Finch has been the head coach of the offense at Brentwood High School. Of course, Coach Finch is the 3rd new head coach in the league. So, Coach, if you would, introduce who's here with you, and then make an opening statement about your expectations for the season. Then we'll take questions from the media. Coach Alex Melton.
Thank you, Darren. We appreciate it. On my left, Bryce Sparks, senior this year, tailback. On my right, Fisher Anderson, offensive tackle. So we're excited to be here. Along with Franklin High School and Centennial, we represent the Franklin community. I know we're rivals, but just also while I'm talking, I want to say thank you to Centennial. They fed the guys the other day, just for some recent events we've had going, so we definitely want to give them a shout out, and we appreciate that. Ravenwood High School today had sent the Kona ice truck over for the guys in honor of some events that we had occur recently, so we want to tell them thank you. It's great to be in this county. There's rivalries. The competition is fierce, but there's also a sense of community, and love in the county. So we really appreciate that. So on behalf of Franklin High School, I'd like to say that and show our appreciation. And all other coaches in the region have reached out. So it's not just those 2, but the kids. It's a great example for our young men and for the young men of those schools to see others reaching out, the thoughtfulness, the care, that type of stuff. So we really appreciate that. As far as this year goes, of course, I'm new coming in. We've retained some of the staff. We brought in some new staff. So we're constantly evaluating, just like you do every year. We're evaluating our kids, learning what they can do, what we still need to work on, and that type of stuff. So, big graduating class last year. You look at this team last year. I'm not going to talk a lot about last year, but they went to the quarterfinals. Had a great run as the year progressed. They did a great job of continuing to get better. They had a great run. They had a big win in the second round to get to the quarterfinals. So, trying to build off that. The thing about graduation is graduation happens every year, right? So you hope you have your program. You have to work to have your program in a spot where it can overcome graduation, because it's going to happen. So we've been working on that. We'll continue working on that. We've got some great seniors. We've got 19 seniors. These are 2 of them here. They've done a great job of leading not only on the field, but off the field, over the last several weeks especially. So, I'm not going to mention all of them, but we've got a great group of seniors and some underclassmen that are, a lot of those guys haven't played, so they're, through the spring and so far this fall, as we're getting pads on and things like that. A lot of this is new to them, so we're constantly working through that. But we're excited for this season. We're going to continue to work hard. And try to progress and get better just each and every day. So we'll open it up for questions. If you guys have questions for myself or for one of these 2 young men here to my right or left.
Hi, Coach. Scott Burton, 615 Preps. You talked about the graduation of so many seniors. Looking at it, maybe with the exception of one game, you scheduled quite a tough schedule this year. Is that by design to kind of throw your team into it?
Well, the schedule's done. They do that every 2 years. So,
yeah.
So Coach Webb set this one up. But the bottom line is this. It gets hard to schedule sometimes. In this county it's tough. So your region schedule is going to be tough. but the teams are so even, and it's such a good reputation in the county that sometimes it's hard to find games. So you have to schedule those. Obviously, we open up first week with Riverdale. No easy contest there. Page is another one that we've got. So it's a county game, not a region game, but a county game. So obviously they'll be very well prepared, as they always are. Stewards Creek's another good team from Rutherford County that we got to play outside the region. And you got McGavick and then Nolansville. They're always very well coached, well prepared, and they're going to be ready to go too. So, you're right. It's going to be a tough non-region schedule, and the region speaks for itself. So we're excited about having the opportunity to play those, and you've got to approach it obviously one game at a time, trying to get better each and every week. But
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chris Brooks, 615 Preps. Bryce, this is for you. You get to run behind this guy a couple of seats over from you for one more year. Talk about his impact on the offensive line and on the offense as a whole, if you would.
I wouldn't even talk about his impact just as an offensive lineman. He is very outspoken on the team. He's a team player. He's an amazing guy. I've known this guy. He was on my 5th grade Grassland Eagles football team. So he's going to be my teammate for about a long time now. So I've been looking forward to this. It's going to be sad to see him go off to Stanford, but I'm going to enjoy this year running behind that man right there.
Fisher, real quick, talk about Bryce. With him running the ball this year, what do you look for out of him?
Bryce is kind of like a hidden gem. He is going to have a breakout year no matter what happens. It just depends on how big it's going to be. It could be something where he breaks records this year, or it could be something where he just achieves his dream of playing collegiately. But I know that this is going to be a crazy year where pieces come together for him.
All right, Coach Melton, your first season in 6A, coming from Summit on 5A, what have you learned about 6A that you may not have learned before, and what are you hoping to build on to get Franklin going far in the playoffs?
It's a different animal. We've been there before at Brentwood earlier in my career and things like that. So it's, just to briefly talk about Summit, they're moving up, but they're ready to move up, right? It's a great group they have there to be able to step in this year. So it's going to be tough. Having been in the region, and Coach Coleman did a great job of scheduling those teams. So we got to compete against. They've competed against Franklin, Centennial, and so being part of that. So and obviously at Brentwood, you've coached against that and all that. So been in the region, been involved in the region for several years, and you just know every week it's a battle. I mean, I think from top to bottom, I would say there's a couple. You're gonna have a couple plays in each game that could keep win the region, be second, or be out of the playoffs. I think it's that tight overall. So it's exciting, it's fun, but it also causes you to press really hard. And the kids know they're gonna have competition. They're going to fight and play every week. There's no week where you can have a down week and come out success with a victory, right, in the region for sure. So we're excited about the opportunity to be able to do it, and we're working with that mentality because we know. We know that everyone else in the region, we know the coaches in the region, so they're all going to be well coached. Everybody's working hard, right? So you can't just say we're working hard because everybody's doing that. So what are we doing to prepare ourselves? How are we going to act to adverse situations and those type of things? So those are the things. Special teams, those things. Turnovers, all those little fundamental things. Those things are going to end up, coming back, helping you be successful, or causing you to maybe lose one or two that you probably maybe shouldn't have. So, but yeah, it's definitely a tough region. It's definitely going to be. It's one of the best ones in the state at 6A level, for sure.
Next question for Fisher and Bryce. Y'all had an amazing upset last year in the playoffs with Ravenwood. How do you feel like that win has carried to your desire to make sure you go far in the playoffs again this year?
Well, I'd say that it's basically proven that last year, we were playing like an average team, and it just proved that when we are playing how we should be playing, which is a great team, then we beat great teams. And coming in this year with A lot of those guys, those key players, gone now. Most of them playing, somewhere in college. We know the possibilities. It's not like we're dreaming for something that hadn't been achieved. We know that's a stepping stone to get to the state championship.
I think it comes down to what we know, what football we should be playing. At some point, it should be no surprise that we can beat some of those teams if we play at a caliber that is higher than what we played at earlier in the year. Because nobody picked us to be Ravenwood. Nobody on the media picked us to be Ravenwood. But at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. If we play our ball, I firmly believe we can beat anybody.
Hey, Alex, Tyler Palmatier, Main Street Preps. Riverdale first, what do you like or don't like about having a big marquee game right out of the gate?
Well, what I like about it is we're going to get tested early, right? We'll kind of see where we stand. You know, one of the challenges, I guess, coming in new is we haven't played anyone but ourselves at this point, right? We've gotten to, go best on best scrimmage ourselves type stuff, but I'm excited to see. We got a scrimmage Friday. Excited to see how we do in that and kind of build up to Riverdale. But I mean, this, they're going to be physical. They're going to be well coached. They always are, and they're going to come after us, right, and attack us. So how are we going to respond to that? Because we're going to get hit. How are we going to respond to that? We're going to hit back. We're going to fight back. Those type of things. So I think it's going to be a great test of our character. Kind of see where we are early, and then how we respond, win or lose. How we respond to that situation. And progress week to week, because you got to approach it the same way. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but you've always got to, you celebrate the wins, you learn from the losses. You learn from both of them, but you always come back that next week and go to work, no matter what. You can't be too high or too low. So that's going to be, a challenge for us is going to battle with them first week, and how do we respond to it? How win or lose? What are we going to do, when it happens? So I'm excited about it. We're right now constantly building up to that point. So we'll scrimmage on Friday, get better from that, watch the film, and continue to progress to that next week.
Alex, maybe you can speak to this a little bit. I'm going to ask Fisher a question about it, but what is it about the culture? Franklin has just traditionally had some good offensive linemen here, especially of late. What contributes to that culture, do you think? For Alex first, I mean, I know you're stepping in a little bit, but is there anything you've noticed that maybe has?
Well, I think it's a mentality. I think once you have that starting, I think the younger guys, when Fisher was younger, I'm sure he looked up to those guys, Ansler and some of them last year, even though he was a junior last year. But I think it's a mentality that has to be contagious. You got to be nasty up front, right? It's a great young man, right? You can be nice, but you got to be nasty up front. And so I think that over the years, having those linemen has really helped build that mentality. The foundation has been laid a long time ago, and I think you've got guys like Fish that keep coming up. And now he's showing that to our younger. We've got some younger guys that have to step up this year due to graduation, which happens every year, as we said. And so he's done a great job of showing that mentality, that work ethic, that leadership to those young guys. And hopefully, Fish will graduate. We don't want him to go, but he's going to graduate one day, right? And so then next year we've got guys like Patrick Jones, Adam Ray, some of those guys that are younger that we hope take that mentality and pass that on to our younger kids. But I think that definitely helps for sure.
Fisher, I'm going to ask you a question about your memory, so just put your thinking cap on. Do you remember when the light came on for you as an offensive lineman, whether it was, obviously you've kind of always been blessed with size, but whether it was technique or something that you were doing to become an elite blocker, when did the light come on for you? Do you remember kind of when that was? Or?
For me, there was a game freshman year. I think it was game 7 or 8, very late in the season. And our starting left tackle, he got a concussion that was diagnosed the day before the game. I remember my O-line coach, Coach Cathy, came up to me and said, "Field upgrade, you're going in tomorrow." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And I had been playing a little bit, like second quarter, fourth quarter, but that was really the game where I went in and I realized like halfway through the game, like, hey, I haven't given up any sacks. I haven't been beat off the ball. And then that just kind of kept rolling. And then in the playoffs, I remember getting a few good blocks, a few plays that I could put on a highlight reel, and saying like, hey, that wasn't that bad. But it just kind of showed me what I could do. Because those freshman year, you know, those guys were leaders. Like you asked Coach Melton earlier, those guys, we've always had a good line because that's where our leaders come from. And that'll continue next year as well. I'm positive.
Brad DeShiel of Dash to Sports, Independence Football. Coach, first question for the coach. How much, well, first of all, there's a coaching change. So how much of the summit type coaching strategies will you bring with you, if any, maybe your own? And then how do you transition not only from DC also into head coach at another team as opposed to knowing the guys that you had? Like if you moved into head coach at Summit, you kind of knew who the players were and were ready to go, but now you're looking at game film. I wonder if this guy can do that type of thing. Talk a little bit about that, and then tie on at the end that last game of the season between Franklin and Summit. Tell me a little bit about what that might look like.
Well, first of all, one of the hardest things I think is learning your personnel, your kids, right? What they do well, what they don't. So that, a lot of that ties into what you're going to bring that you've done before. Can we do? I think we'll be able to do a lot of similar things. And we're trying to do that. But it's you start with the mentality, work ethic, that type of stuff, which is, Coach Webb's always done a great job of that. So that's been installed there. But there's going to be some changes, obviously, with the way we do things and some things like that. So first thing you got to do is identify your personnel. So that's been one of the most challenging parts in doing that, because we really haven't, like I mentioned earlier, gotten a chance to scrimmage anyone else, to see how they compete against somebody else with this new group since graduation has occurred. So to answer that first question, I think we're constantly evaluating that. I think there'll be some similarities there, but identifying the things that the guys can do well, some things we need to continue to work on, and just trying to put them in the best situation to be successful, right? Is our job, that's our job. So it's a constant evaluation, and if there needs to be some change, then we'll change based on what we've got, for sure. As far as, you're talking about the Franklin Summit game last year? Is that?
Well, this year, that's your
okay.
that's your last game on the schedule
yes,
coming
sir.
up. So what will that
Yes,
look
sir.
like? How looking across at the coach that was your coach, that you worked for?
Yes, sir. We talked about it some, and the day I went down to Summit and told them that I was going to Franklin or whatever, they'd already started chatting, talking about it. So it's great. It was great young men there, great young men here, so it's going to be exciting. I know a lot of them know each other and have played against each other growing up. Obviously I know the coaching staff there, and so there's familiarity there. I just, I've always told him they've had those orange jerseys, and they've kind of been a curse. So I said, make sure you got on orange jerseys, orange pants, and orange cleats.
Awesome.
That's what hopefully, I've talked to Tate about making sure they got all that. So
That's funny.
it'll be fun, and hopefully at that point there's playoff implications going on, and just make it that much more exciting. But it'll be a great atmosphere, I think, and it'll be good. Calling
Play-by-play in Williamson County is like, it's a who's who. I mean, who's up next? And you're like, oh my gosh, Ravenwood's coming to town, or Brentwood, or Summit, whatever, whoever that is. And I'm going to talk to Fisher and Bryce. Guys, is there a game that maybe not this year, but in the past, or possibly this year, that both of you always kind of, is it the crosstown rival? Is it the Brentwood Franklin game? Is it Indy? Who is it that kind of gets you up, or is it just same day, just go to work next week? Fisher, and also congratulations on your going to Stanford.
Thank you so much. The kind of basic answer would be Centennial. That's a game that every single player on the team will get hyped for no matter what. But the majority of the team will I'd say bring everything they have to every single county region game, and even more so to the Brentwood, Ravenwood, Centennial games. That it just mean more to us, and that's why I'd say that's why those games are always the closest, because it goes both ways.
I think one of those games obviously has to be Centennial because they're our crosstown rival, and our goal every single year is to make sure we keep the helmet on this side of the town. So obviously they're great competitors. I know a lot of those guys. They're very hardworking. They're very, very athletic also. And there are a lot of under-the-radar guys that are underclassmen on that team. So they'll be an interesting team to watch, I think, this year. So be on the lookout for that. And then me personally, I think one of those games has to be Ravenwood. I know a lot of those guys on the team. I've known them for a really long time. So obviously we talk about the game a lot, past years. And then, of course, this last year where we beat them in the playoffs at Ravenwood. So that game is going to be a very fun game to play at their house, for sure.
Coach, Joe Spears with Tennessee, and you guys replace arguably the top statistical quarterback in the mid-state. I was just wondering what your quarterback situation's looking like and maybe some of the guys that have stepped up to that challenge.
We've got a couple guys that have been working there. Obviously that was a loss, but again, that's going to happen every year when these kids graduate, and so we've got to have our program, have our young guys prepared to when the situation arises to be able to step in there and do. So we've got a couple guys that we've been working in that position, and they're constantly being evaluated for what they can help us do offensively to move the ball in whatever form that may be. So. A guy that was there last year, we've had he stepped up in the spring, and we've had some other guys step up to continue to try to fill that role. And so, we're working through that process as well, just like with every sport. We tell them every day's a competition. Nobody's safe. If you think you're safe, you're wrong, right? You should be competing every day, no matter what grade you're in. If you played last year or what, it's always a competition, and the quarterback's the same way. So we're working through that process, just like with every position.
Coach Tom Krieger with Tennessee, and we talk so much about Region 7-6A and how it's all Williamson County. Looking at your schedule, and maybe we can bring Coach Hughes back, Fairview is the only Williamson County public school that you're not playing this year. Can you talk about the schedule and a lot of familiar faces for you, and obviously a lot of rivalry games, which also mean probably large gates for your home games. It's kind of maybe an ideal schedule for y'all because there's maybe a lot less travel.
Right. Well, I think that helps with travel for sure. And like you said, hopefully the gates will be back to what they should be. We've progressed and moved on, and we can get the stadiums filled back up. The student sections in Williamson County are always great. That's a big part of it. We missed that, somewhat last year a little bit. So I think playing other teams in the county is great for the county. We talked about it. We're one conference, but we're so competitive. And it cuts down on the travel and allows fans, maybe that don't go to Franklin or Page or somewhere like that in the area. There's interest there because it's a county school. Two county schools playing each other, if that makes sense. So, obviously you've got to play who's in your region, and the schedule was set before I got there. But it's, like I said, when you're in this region, it's hard to schedule sometimes. And it's same thing for Page, same thing for Nolansville. Sometimes the only people you can play are the people in your county, which is not a bad thing, but it makes it tough each and every week for sure.
Obviously, this is your first chance at being a head coach. Describe your coaching philosophy. I mean, obviously, Donnie kind of evolved over the years. He kind of threw the ball a lot more than what he'd done. How would you describe your, especially offensive philosophy, knowing that you've been a defensive guy in the past?
Well, I think you've got to, as I mentioned earlier, you've got to put your kids in the best situation to be successful. So whatever that looks like, based on the personnel you have, based on what your quarterback does well, what he does not do well, what your offensive line does well, what they don't do well, and running backs, what they're able to do, how they're able to see things and cut and those type of things. So, to say we're going to be full spread or we're going to run it all the time, we're just evaluating, still working through that. But it's a constant work in progress, and we're excited to be able to get started, to see what these kids do well as we scrimmage the next couple of weeks and get ready for our first week.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Great job, Franklin High School. Good job, Coach Melton. All right, next up, we've got Independence High School. Coach Scott Blade. Independence last year finished at 7-3, second round of the playoffs. Faced Brentwood in the playoffs again last year. I think maybe for Independence, Some folks thought going into the year that they could potentially struggle. If you know Coach Blade, they don't typically struggle. And I think maybe in some people's eyes they overachieved, but they're one of those teams, we talked about it earlier, just like Brentwood. Doesn't seem to matter the year. They end up having a pretty darn good season. So, Coach, if you would, introduce who's here with you, and then give us some expectations for the season, and then we'll take questions from the media. Coach Scott Blade, Independence High School.
All right, thank you, Darren. To my left is Joe Cummings, senior quarterback. To my right is River Katina, senior receiver, safety. Both are huge parts of our program. So our expectations are pretty similar to every year. Try and get better throughout the year. We had a real good spring, had a good off season, had a good June, and then like everybody else, trying to get through this heat and get prepared for a heck of a season coming up just around the corner. I guess 23 days. But expectations at Independence are always high. We've got an incredible schedule, incredible kids, incredible coaching staff that are ready to take it on, and we'll see how the cards fall. I will open it up to questions now.
Coach Joe Spears with the Tennessean. We all know what Jackson did for you guys last year. What's it been like having Joe under center now? I mean, what does he bring to the table for you guys?
Well, last year was an interesting year, obviously for everybody involved, you guys, us, teachers, administrators, everything, parents. So Jackson was a 3-year starter for us and was our best all-around athlete. And with limited time to really get a good look at potential, he was the best option and turned out to be a terrific option for us. As you saw, our offense really took on a different look last year with his trying to fit his skill set and also a couple of tight ends. And for those that have played me, they know I've never done that before. So it was an interesting year. It was a fun year. We overachieved in a lot of ways, and started with the quarterback doing a heck of a job with us. So this year with the transition now practice time, and Joe transferred to us 2 years ago from BGA. He got a chance to learn the offense last year. Has a great grasp of it right now, and then if you saw him, during 7-on-7s, he really understands what he's doing with the ball. And our receivers now we think are a little more polished than what they've been in the last couple of years. So the offense will again continue to evolve.
Joe, you got Ty Lockwood, you got River down there, and Trey in the backfield. I mean, how easy has it been that transition for you to become this next starting quarterback at Independence?
Yeah, they definitely make my job very easy throwing to those guys, and it's really an honor to throw to them.
Coach just wanted to know where you were going to put the trophy when we go 15-0 this year.
Oh,
just,
God.
Just kidding.
Please don't say that. I'm looking at the Wade twins back there.
I know.
Pretty sure they got something to say
I'm
about
sure
that.
they do.
I'm just trying to go get through this scrimmage.
Keep the game going. No, my question, again, you come in with a new quarterback, and it's almost like a plug and play. I've called this team for 4 years, and I've seen different styles. We had Nate Sisko, we had Ethan Cash, Joe Cummings. We had the running quarterback last year, Jackson Campbell. Talk about how, as a coach, what you have to do is you take these players and you actually have to change things up a little bit according to what their strengths are. Like last year was a totally different looking offense. No one knew who was going to get the ball next. And talk a little bit about how you have to manipulate that and, going forward, what that'll be like. And then I have a question for River.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. Every coach has to deal with whatever comes through their hallways and whatever kind of develops as they go through the program, and you kind of take what you got and within the concepts you're trying to teach and trying to fit it to what your kids can do repeatedly well. So that's how we've been my whole career. The offense has evolved every year. It's looked similar at times, but some plays that are absolute bread and butter for us one year don't work at all the next. It depends on the guys that are executing the plays for you.
Right.
And we're fortunate at Independence to have a great mix of kids, a great mix of families that allow us to do multiple things with them.
River, I've got a question for you. Well, first of all, congrats on your offer.
Thank you.
And also, which side of the ball do you like better? I know you play both sides, and it may be equal, and that's probably a tough question. But you seem to be good at both of them. Which side do you like best?
That's definitely a tough question because growing up, I've just taken pride on being an athlete, being able to plug in wherever I'm needed. So honestly, I don't have an answer for that. Just wherever I'm needed, I enjoy it.
River, Tyler Palmatier, Tyler Palmatier, Main Street Preps. You and Joe got it. I've obviously gotten acclimated a little bit, but at the 7-on-7 Riverdale a few weeks ago, you guys were really clicking. What is working right now for you two?
Man, just being on the same page, working when we're not at practice, and all that has definitely paid off in these 7-on-7s. Just with all our targets, without our big Ty Lockwood, it's almost like we didn't even miss a beat without Ty. So,
Joe, yeah, you can answer that too, man.
It's definitely good throwing to River. I mean, we're pretty much best of friends, so we're with each other all the time. So our chemistry is just like on point every single time, and our receivers too. I mean, we're all like hang out together, so it's good for us to just get that chemistry going this year.
And Joe, for you, your year that I guess you did have to sit because of your transfer.
Yeah.
What did you learn during that year, and even though you're very different from Jackson Campbell, what were you able to take from watching him?
Yeah, I definitely got to take a step back and learn a lot, especially the new offense coming into Independence. But I thought Jackson did a lot of things well, just improvising when he needed to, and I think I can do that as well, just by throwing the ball.
Hey guys, Charles with the Williamson Herald here. We're a long ways from October here, but right away looking at the border battle, we've had some great matchups over the years here. But now with that region weight a little more, talk about what that means, what's that going to bring to the table, and just what it means to go against the big rivalry and have a region matchup with it too.
It means a lot. I mean, this is, like you said, the border battle. It becomes a bigger and bigger game every year, and Coach Coleman and the success they've had at Summit, and the Wade brothers, who are arguably the best pair of athletes in the whole region and maybe the state. They're really special. So I think you're going to see a matchup of some talented kids with a lot at stake. We hope that it's got playoff implications. We hope to be there in that late in the season where the game matters for playoffs. But I think regardless, it's still a bragging right game, and they've owned it the last 2 years, and absolutely nothing but respect. And we know that thing, again, way ahead. Honestly, try to get through this scrimmage and get through this heat, and hopefully get to the first game somewhat healthy. Anybody? Yeah.
All right, Coach Blade. You start your schedule off playing CPA and Lipscomb Academy. They both made it to the championship game of their private school. Do you feel like starting out that tough on your schedule helps you better prepare for the Williamson County tough matchups?
Absolutely. Those are two of the finer teams in all of Middle Tennessee and really in the state. CPA's won several championships. Lipscomb's on the cusp of it, and they got terrific athletes over there. We know that both teams are going to play discipline. We know they're well coached. We think, who knows how it's going to turn out, but we do take pride in the fact that we try and play most teams that we can play. Those are games that people want to see right out the gate. That's a big time game. Hopefully we can represent our school and represent our community with pride and class, but it's going to be a heck of a matchup, and hopefully it does help us as we go through the season. But I do believe that's a game that those are the type of games people want to see, you guys want to write about. You want to see two big teams going at it. But yes, it's should be two heck matchups, that's for sure.
Coach Chris Brooks, 615 Preps. Look down the schedule. It's home, away, all the way down the schedule. You don't get two back-to-back home games. Is that kind of a tough way to have a schedule planned out, or did it just work out like that?
No, we were glad to work it out that way. I'd rather have home away than 2 home and then 2 away. We've typically played pretty well on the road, but I like it scheduled this way, so it's a little more balanced. It lets the fans, as long as our team is performing and playing well, it lets them kind of stay in a groove and keep following the team, and there's something to look forward to. I prefer home and away, and we're fortunate to be able to knock that out this year for the next 2 years.
River, I've seen you guys at a couple of 7-on-7 tournaments. You're the receiver group along with everybody else, and it seems like an enthusiastic group. What do you guys attest to, your playmaking ability, the enthusiasm you have coming into this year?
Yeah, well, every day at practice, we break it down with juice. So we want to come in with juice every day. You come into practice, all tired, goopy. That's how you're going to practice. That's how you're going to play. So we just believe that, having that energy the whole time is really going to translate to how we perform.
Joe, how's it throwing to these guys?
Oh, it's amazing, really is. I'm truly blessed to be here with these guys every single day and, get to work together, so it's amazing.
One thing we've chatted with some of the coaches here is kind of comparing what we've learned from last year going into this year. There's obviously some of the similarities are still there. There's still some things to be worried about, but what do you take away from last year going into this year and just trying to find some of that normalcy again?
Well, last year was a challenge on it, like everybody's part. I talked to a TWSAA representative yesterday, and he was just smile from year to year. Right now, they're proceeding, with business as usual, and our job is to follow what they set forward. Our county director set forward. So right now, and knowing all the time that's a fluid thing, and that could change. But right now, we're practicing as normal, and what it showed from last year, just kind of, you're thankful, you're grateful. These young kids don't know it, but man, as we get older, these years flash before you, and you're just turning them over. And just being able to get one more, year in last year, albeit a crazy year and an incredibly stressful year. We're thankful that we're back to some sort of normalcy, at least right now as we're talking, and knowing full well that there could be other things that come down the pipe that we'll have to deal with, and I think we'll be better prepared to deal with them if they come down. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, before we bring Nolansville up, a couple things to mention. And I'm glad that last question came up. Obviously, I've gone through some difficult times here the past couple of years. I do want to thank all of our coaches who are here, the players who are here, the parents who are here, and members of the media for making this thing happen under very unusual circumstances, especially the last 16 months or so. Obviously, right now it's a little bit more wide open, but that's always subject to change for sure. If we can get Nolansville to head this way, Coach Paul Derrick, something I did want to mention, we were talking earlier, Tate and I were, Mr. Touchdown, Tate likes to call him, Samson Johnson. If you guys one of you will come here, I'll make my way out of here. Coach will sit in the middle. Tom Krieger was nice enough to text me because we were wondering about the total number of touchdowns. Last year it was 19 touchdowns, 1,106 yards, I believe, 13. His freshman year, Tate has predicted 25. Coach Paul Derrick and Nolansville up next. I think with Nolansville, it's one of those deals we talked about before. They are, and really not quietly, but they are just making their way as a program. Once again, last year, making it all the way to the semifinals. Elizabethton, obviously they had to run into them, obviously a great team. Lost some people, but I think what we know about Nolansville is they'll be ready to compete as they move into 5A. And Coach, if you would, I want you to introduce the players you have here with you. Obviously, we talked about Samson being here, but also, if you would, talk about that move into 5A before we take questions from the media. Coach Paul Derrick, Nolansville High School.
Thank you.
First off, thank you, Coach Joins, for putting together a great event. Thank you, media members, for being here. Without you guys, obviously, we wouldn't have a WCS Media Day, so thank you all for being here. As Coach Joins mentioned, we're making the jump to 5A. We're excited about that move. I think it just shows the growth of our school, the growth of our football program. We're excited about jumping in a new region, playing some new schools. Excited about Page being in our region and having a WCS opponent in our region. As far as last year, as Coach Joins mentioned, coming off of an 8-4 year, lost in the 4A state semifinals to Elizabethton. It was a good year. We had some success. We're definitely not satisfied. I think we've started to create some standards and expectations around our program, which is a good thing. And that's something that we're going to have to try to live up to this year. We returned 5 starters on offense, 2 of which I have here with me today. And we bring back 3 starters on defense. To my right over here, I have Samson Johnson, who Coach Joins just talked about quite a bit. He split carries as a freshman, and then last year he took over the role as that feature back in our offense and did a great job, rushed for 1,000 yards, had 19 touchdowns, I believe. Just done a great job, been very productive for our football team. And over here I have Zach Weisel. He stepped up last year and played center for us, first-year starter for us, and he'll return this year and he'll do the same there. He's been a great leader on that offensive line, and we'll need him to step up and lead this year since we're only bringing back 2 guys at that position. Both these young men are fine young men. They're members of our leadership council on our football team, which is elected by their peers, so I think that speaks a lot to their character and a lot to their leadership abilities. So again, we're excited about the season. We're excited about making the jump to 5A. And just excited to be here with you guys. So with that, I'll open it up to you guys for questions.
Coach Charles with the Williamson Herald.
Hey, Charles.
Want to talk a little bit about, I guess, just the culture at Nolansville and the shifts, the changes here, but still finding that success. Now we're coming in with a lot of new faces, I feel like, too. I mean, how do we keep going with that?
Well, after my first year being the head coach, you learn a lot that first year. And one thing that I learned is that, being a new program, we really didn't have an identity. We really didn't have a culture. So after that first year, I decided to start the Leadership Council, and that's been a big piece of the kind of culture we want to build. And, those guys kind of being my ears and listening to them and getting their feedback, and then allowing those guys to grow as leaders as well. That was one thing that we struggled with early on, being a young program. The sophomores that were there when we played JV, they were seniors since they were sophomores, and really the coaches had to lead because the players just didn't know how. And I think that Leadership Council gave those guys some ownership and gave them an opportunity to grow as leaders. So I think that's been a big piece of it. I think we got really good kids that work hard and want to be a good football team. They want to be good football players. And then, I can't say enough about my staff and the coaches we have as well. They're great men, great football coaches. They do it for the right reason. So, I think it's been a lot of things kind of coming together, and, we're really just hoping to ride that momentum and continue with it.
Coach Chris Brooks, 615 Preps. The last 2 years, Elizabethton knocked you out in the 4A semifinals. Now with a move to 5A, you don't have to worry about them. It seems like 5A is pretty wide open this year. So what do you think the senior class, having gone through the last 2 deep playoff runs, has helped them prepare for maybe some tougher competition?
Well, yeah, first off, I think just getting that experience of being in playoff games and being in big playoff games, even though, the season didn't end the way we wanted it, I think you have to learn from those experiences. And I think, this senior group is coming out, pretty hungry this year. Again, I mentioned, we've kind of set some standards and expectations, and, we'll have to put together the best team, and it'll be up to this team to come together. I tell them all the time, each team has to create its own identity. And, we can't rely on 2 years ago or last year. Success is not a continuum. And it'll be up to us to work hard and come together as a team. I think we have, a lot of potential, to be honest with you. But I tell these guys all the time, potential is just a word if you don't reach that potential. So we're excited about 5-0. We're excited about those new opportunities. And, making that jump, we knew we were going to grow, and we'll probably grow some more. But for now, we're going to do the best we can playing in that 5A league.
Samson, let's talk about your growth in the off season. How much have you put on, like muscle-wise, just to get ready for this year?
I put about 10 pounds of muscle. It's just I started from quarantine, lifting every day, twice a day, just hitting it. And I knew moving up to 5A, I don't know how much easier or harder it's gonna be. So I'm just preparing myself the best I can.
You had some pretty interesting cleats on Monday when I saw you guys at practice. Tell me about those a little bit. What'd you have on those?
It was the NASCAR 96 cleats. I was scrolling through Safari and I saw those cleats and I thought they were pretty cool. And I got about 4 other pairs of cleats in my locker that are pretty cool too.
Charlie Bateman, Williamson homepage. Coach Derek, you're replacing one of your passing leaders for last season in Ryder Gallardi. How is the quarterback competition shaping out for you this season?
Yeah, first off, Ryder Gallardi, 3-year starter, one of the best quarterbacks I've ever been around, tremendous leader, tremendous competitor. We're obviously going to miss him, but we feel like we got a guy in Kobe Walton who's going to be able to step up this year. He'll be a junior this year. Last year, Ryder was out one game and he got one start last year and was very productive, made good decisions, showed the potential to be a good quarterback. So, he's the guy we're kind of leaning on this year. Again, I think he's a little different than Ryder as far as the way he approaches the game. He's very even keel. When something good happens, he stays level-headed. If something bad happens, he doesn't get his head down. So I think that's a good quality to have in a quarterback. And probably the thing I'm most proud about with Kobe is that he's kind of a quiet kid, but he's really tried to be a leader, be more vocal, and really take ownership in the offense. So we're excited about him. I think he has great potential. I'm sure there may be some growing pains with him as we go, but I do believe that he's gonna have a very good year for Nolansville.
All right, and my next question's for Samson. Samson, you've had over 1,000 yards your first 2 seasons and double-digit touchdowns. With this being your second full year at running back, how are you striving to make sure you can have a bigger impact for your team?
I'm just going to keep doing what I do and trust my teammates, really. I can't control the line. I can't control how the other team plays. I'm just going to do Samson Johnson football, and we'll see how things turn out.
Joe Spears with the Tennessee. And Samson, we talked after the Elizabethton game, and you were obviously very upset, but you were very adamant that you guys weren't done yet. You're in a new class now. When you look back at that game, does it kind of motivate you more going into this, where you guys are going to be one of the favorites in this new region?
Yeah, the past 2 years motivated us a lot because we semifinals 2 years in a row. Losing to Elizabethton 2 years in a row, that kind of hurts a lot. And there shouldn't be much more to motivate us to get past that semifinal round, but we still got to put the work in. And like our coach always says, success isn't a continuing, so we're not automatically in the semifinals. Like, we still got to put that work in.
Coach, Tom Krager with Tennessee, and last couple of years you've been a lot of passing stuff, but with the emergence of Samson, obviously he had a great season last year, but with him there, do you change maybe what you want to do, or maybe you say, hey, we're going to maybe ground it out maybe a little more than what we had the last couple of years?
Well, no, I think anytime on offense you want to have balance. So our goal is always to run the football. And then, from there, we try to establish the run. And, obviously Ryder was really good at making decisions in the passing game. So I think, again, you want to have balance within your offense. Samson's going to be a big part of that as far as running the football. Also, featuring him in the passing game some. But, maybe, having a new quarterback, we may try to rely on the run a little bit more. But I think for us, it's just about trying to get the ball to the people that can make plays. And while doing that, trying to find some balance within your offense.
Coach, our former columnist, Joe Rexford, I think lives right next to the house there, right next to the school there, and he tipped me off when when Samson was an 8th grader, said, hey, better watch out, there's this kid here, it's pretty good. He's going to be a really standout running back. What is it in your eyes that has made Samson such a great running back?
Well, first off, Samson is a natural runner, and what I mean by that is he can see things open up before they do. He's got good patience, he's got good feet, but really his vision, I think, is what makes him special. And then on top of that, he's a humble kid, man. He works hard. He's not going to gloat a whole bunch. When he makes a good play, he's going to run back to the huddle and try to make another good play. But for what makes him special is he works hard. Like he said, he's put on 10 pounds of muscle. He's busted it in the weight room this year. But I think his vision is what makes him so special.
Coach, I think we are all hoping to be back to normal this season, but as we see things are starting to crop back up, I guess a year ago, we had a lot of unknowns, but now having played and figured out how to navigate through a year of COVID, does that help this year that if things continue to look like it's going to get worse, hey, you've seen it all from last year. Does that help this year where it's, you had so many question marks on how you were going to do things. Now you kind of have a recipe to do it.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, last year we were all just kind of learning on the fly, and I think having that, I think we learned a lot from everything that happened last year, and to have that experience to rely on. If things were to go that way, then obviously we would have some experience to rely on, and we'd have plans in place that we've done in the past. Hopefully that's not the case, but if it is, then obviously we'll modify and adjust and do the best we can with whatever situation presents itself.
For both the players, it's a brutal schedule. I mean, you're in a new region, a lot of tough teams in that. But outside of that, you play Innsworth, Franklin, BGA. I mean, for you guys, which games are you most excited to play? I mean, is there any on the schedule that stand out for you?
Definitely our Williamson County opponents. Being a new school, this is our 5th year of varsity ball. We got a lot to prove still. We have made it deep in the playoffs, but we're not done yet. There's a lot of people that don't think we're legit. So definitely our Williamson County opponents, but big schools like Ensworth and BGA, they're going to be a challenge there. But it is what it is. We're going to keep playing Nolansville ball. We've been competing in 4A for the past however long we've been at school, 5 years now. And I think if you ask anyone who's watched Nolansville football and kept up with it, we're competing at a higher level every single game. We could have been in 5A this whole time. So I'm pretty confident in our guys this year. And we're just going to see how it plays out. We're going to keep doing Nolansville.
Obviously our Wilco games, because Wilco teams playing another Wilco team is always fun watching. But I'm really excited about the Ensworth game when I heard we were playing them, because we know some guys over there, and it's 2 talented teams. We got a lot of talent on our team. They got a lot of talent on our team. It should be fun.
Coach, what do you feel the difference is going from 4A to 5A? Obviously, besides the fact you got a bunch of new teams, and now you got a natural rival in Page, but outside of that, what do you see the biggest difference jumping up in class?
Well, obviously, it's like you mentioned, the familiarity is not there. Been 4A for the last 4 years, and in the same region, we're kind of used to those teams. Spring Hill coming up with us. Obviously, we're pretty familiar with them, and you mentioned Page. That'll be an exciting game for us. But I just think that the schools are bigger. You probably have more bodies. More depth maybe. That's one thing we're trying to do right now is develop some depth in some areas. But honestly, football's football, and I don't know if there's too much of a difference with it beyond the not being familiar with our opponents and not being familiar with that league. On the traveling to different places, anytime you go somewhere for the first time, that's a little different. Again, being in 4A the last 4 years and going to different places, we've been there before. We know what to expect, so that'll be a challenge for us with our road games. But we're excited about that challenge.
Well, if you can make a trip to Elizabeth from the environment, I think I've heard about that. You can probably play anywhere, right?
Yeah, that was a pretty cool place to play. It was a really electric environment. I mean, it felt like they had 30,000 people there. The stands were packed. There's no track around the field, so the fans are right on top of you. So it was a cool place to play. Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all. Go Knights.
Before we bring Page High School up here, a couple of quick announcements and reminders. I do want to say thank you to Tate Matthews. Tate was up here earlier before the show. Does a great job outfitting our young men and young women in WCS. As you guys know, we have a district deal with Adidas, so do appreciate him and thank him for the great uniforms, the great apparel, the footwear that we wear throughout the year. Also want to thank again Walker Chevrolet, big-time sponsor of the WCS Sports Conference. Without them, none of this happens. They're obviously very involved in the Wilco Awards as well. And again, I want to thank all the members of the media who have been here tonight, too. Next up, we've got Page High School. Coach Charles Rathbone, Page High School. I did mention earlier, Coach, that Coach is pretty low-key in terms of giving public expectations about his team. Always wants to sell low and deliver high. When he and I have talked this year, I can feel the excitement in his voice. Now, he's going to say, because we were talking about this earlier, I told him this, he's going to say it's because he's just so excited to get back to normal. And I think that is definitely partly true. But because of the young men that are with him tonight, I think he's also excited about his squad. Also looking forward to that first game of the year, Page Fairview, Battle of 840, always a big-time deal in WCS. So without further ado, we welcome to the desk Charles Rathbone and Page High School. One on each side here. You know, somebody come around. Come around, Jay.
So I just want to start out by thanking everybody for being here, especially the media and covering it. You know, you all were able to provide some things for these kids last year, going through the COVID protocol that really nobody else could. I couldn't provide it. The district could not provide it, but you all were found a way to cover these kids so that you got their names out there and they felt appreciated and they enjoyed playing. It was a very difficult year, but you know, they knew every Friday night or Saturday morning they got to wake up and you know, almost like realize that somebody does care, you know, and that's very important. And I would take offense to one thing that Dr. Joynes said was I don't sell anything. I'm not a salesman. You know, I'm happy, I'm proud, I'm excited for every single team that we have at Page High School. I've been there for 20 years. Very excited about this team. But all these kids matter every single year. So with that being said, you know, just to tell you a little bit about what we got going on, we got about 112 players out at Page. I know around the country you see participation dwindling in football. That's not the case out at Page High School. We're excited to have Jake back for his second year. He's a Colorado State commit. Owen, he has offers from 4 or 5 schools. He's waiting on a couple of schools that say they're going to offer, and then he'll go from there. We've got Ronan O'Connell, who's a sophomore lineman, 6'5", about 260, who has a offer from Western Kentucky. And I think the key to realize when we talk about offers is that these are committal offers. A lot of times coaches will throw non-committal offers out there. These are all offers that are committal for these kids, that if they choose to take them, then they're there. So we're going to keep doing what we do. We're going to throw the ball around and try to get the guys hands on it in space and hopefully develop some sort of running game this year. But it's been such a blessing to be back out there with these guys and have some sort of normality in that we get to practice and we don't have to stay 6 feet away from them and those kind of things, although we do still try to implement some of that stuff. But right now we're allowed to kind of get on them a little bit and push them a little bit harder than we could have last year. And we're happy to answer your questions. These guys love talking, so ask away.
Chris Brooks, 615 Preps. Coach, you guys get rid of Summit from the region, and then Nolansville comes dancing in to join you guys. What's that going to be like having them in the region this year?
You know, we played Nolansville to the first couple of years, and probably one of our best, or my best atmosphere, and Owen played in it. But, you know, I enjoy going out there and playing at Nolansville. I know they come to us this year, but, you know, it's a good group of kids, very athletic group. Coach Derek is a genuine good person. I listened to them talk, and they talked about earning respect and all the other stuff, but we absolutely respect Nolansville and everybody in 5A. I do feel like we are kind of the lost team in Williamson County, and we got a lot to prove, and we're going to set out to do the same. So it'll be an exciting night to have them over, and then we get to go to them next year. So I'm excited to have them in, and I'm also excited to get rid of Shelbyville and Summit as well. So.
Jake, this is for you. Your off season, how do you feel like you've improved as a quarterback? I know congratulations to Colorado State as well.
I feel great. I mean, just building around the team. We've been getting guys in and day out. A lot of support from the team and from the boys. Like, come out and work, and we have a lot to prove since last year. Last year was a rough year for us, and we just want to build on that and build with everything we have. So this offseason, we've taken a very high mentality of achieving our goals for this year, and I feel like we've done a great job. I mean, the work's starting to come together, and the team's looking good this year, so we're pretty excited.
All right, Coach Rathbone, you start your schedule off with Battle of 840. How do you feel like starting out with one of your biggest rivals will help you throughout the course of the season?
Well, I think in preparing for that game, it really hurt us last year not having any 7-on-7s and scrimmages, and then trying to find a replacement for 9-10 starters on both sides of the ball. Coach Hughes always has his team prepared. They always come in, and he's made the statement several times that he'd be willing to go 1-9 every single year if that one game is a victory against Page. And so that kind of tells you how big that is to them. So the challenge to us is do these guys take that game as serious? Does it mean that much to our guys? And the last couple of years, I don't feel like it has. And that's a mentality that we got to change. That they got to understand that we play every play, and we play every play hard, and we're going to be physical, and we're going to get after it no matter who's in front of us. So to me, that's a standard, a bar that we have to set in our program. It's an expectation that we have to set in our program that we're going to play hard, and opening up against the Williamson County School. I never really bought into Williamson County schools playing each other and they play harder, but then you hear these kids talk and they all get excited about playing Williamson County schools. To me, I was just happy to play whoever lined up in front of me. But so it's just another Williamson County school that we respect and we enjoy playing.
Next question is for Jake. Jake, your coach talked about that your team as a whole feels like the forgotten school in Williamson County. How has that motivated your team to make sure everybody understands that you want to be one of the main teams you need to focus on in the county?
I mean, from the get-go, obviously a terrible loss last year to start off the season against Fairview, and that's really motivated us. I mean, we're looking forward to that game, and starting off with another Wilco game is that's what we want. And especially our biggest rival coming out the first game, we've been striving and looking forward to this game because we need our revenge and we need the Battle of 840 to get back to our side. So as a team, we're collectively excited for the game, and we just want to own our Wilco, and that's what we're looking forward to do.
Coach, I'm curious. I haven't had a whole lot of Tyler Plowman here with Main Street Preps. I haven't had a lot of interactions with Jake. How would you describe his personality?
He's a typical gym nut. He comes in, he's happy to be there, he's excited, he's a perfectionist. We talk about why some kids get looked at and why some kids don't, and Jake's kind of opened my eyes about that. It's all about the work ethic. These colleges call and ask me about Utah State called and talked to me for 45 minutes one day, and their one thing was that his passion, they could feel his energy, his passion, and they loved his footwork and all the other stuff. So, I mean, he just makes it fun. He makes it exciting. There's not one player on the team that's not important to him. He welcomes every single player. It could be the absolute worst freshman on the team or the best senior on the team. They're all equal to him, and he leads that way. He doesn't make anybody feel inferior to anybody else, which is a characteristic and something that I highly respect of him.
Jake, along those lines, in kind of a world where if you're being offered by somebody, everybody knows about it. Recruits are pretty outspoken about how things are going for them. Why have you kind of chosen a different way, and is that just kind of who you are?
It is. I mean, I grew up in a family where sports was a huge thing, and my brothers have installed it in my brain, you're not blessed with everything as a kid as some other kids are. So me and my size, I know, no matter what, I have to work out everyone in the room if I need to be where I want to be. So I'm going to take everything in my body to make myself better and my team better so everyone can be successful.
So how many brothers do you have?
I have 2 brothers. One's a quarterback in Michigan, the other one's a receiver at WKU.
So they were bigger than you, I'm guessing, growing up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What were those backyard brawls like, or what have you?
Competitive, you know. I mean, you're not going to win easy, so you got to come in every day looking to win. And it's kind of been installed in me to compete and to lead and bring the people with me to go win games.
And last one for me, Jake, on what have you tried to work on over the last off season, and how do you kind of offset the size thing?
I mean, just building as a team. Like, you can't win the game by yourself. You need all 11 players to do it. And as long as we build in our team chemistry, I think we can go anywhere with this team. I believe in this team very strongly, and as we build our chemistry and build our work ethic, I feel like we can go a long ways.
So I would like to say something about his brother and that relationship. I was talking to his dad, and Cade McNamara is his brother, out of Michigan, and his dad was telling me that Cade looks at his film, and then he'll call Jake, and he'll pick out his footwork, for example, and just say, you know, Jake, your footwork looks like crap. You know, you need to, you know, so it's kind of an interesting way that they keep each other in check, and they're always out on the field, even during the summer. You're throwing together and throwing to each other and things like that. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic, and you can tell how close they are and kind of how they feed off one another. And it's almost like having another quarterback coach eyes on him at all times by watching film. So it's kind of cool to watch.
Tom Krieger, Tennessee. And first, I want to clarify, the middle brother's not a lot bigger than you. So I think you're right around the same size, I think, if memory serves me right. But anyway, Coach, your region now. I mean, obviously, Nolansville goes up, Summit goes out, Shelbyville goes out. It's a new look for your guys. Can you just talk about your league and what it looks like now?
So obviously, when you lose a Summit and a Shelbyville, that's that's a state championship team and another team that if they didn't get suspended last year or on probation would have probably been competing right there with Summit. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I found it interesting, and I like the fact that you look at all the books, and I heard somebody talking to Nolansville that they're the favorite. So bringing them in as a very high quality team coming in. Then you have Franklin County, if they can ever get it together. A lot of athletes on that team, and Lincoln County's trying to turn around. Spring Hill's always athletic, so it's a challenge every week. If I'm being honest with everybody, which I value myself on being honesty, I don't believe in just spewing a bunch of crap. I don't feel like the region is going to be as tough as what it has been the last couple of years. And I think anybody that sits up here and says that it is when you got Summit and Shelbyville leaving, I think they're lying to you. But with that being said, I think Nolansville brings a challenge that we have not really seen in the last couple of years. They throw the ball around and have some dynamic athletes and things like that. We haven't really seen that in our region the last couple of years. So I'm excited to see how they do and to face them and just new faces. It makes it fun.
And for you, Owen, can you just talk about what the league looks like this year and how much different it is? And does it, as a player, do you say, well, we really don't care who's in the league, we just want to play? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the league, it obviously changed. We got Nolansville, Summit, and Shelbyville out. But honestly, we can't really change anything as a team. Everything, every week, it's preparing just for playing, the best. You're playing a game against really yourself, and we prepared. We're preparing the same every single week, just to play the best, for sure.
Jake, year 2 at Page as the starting quarterback, how much does that do you feel more comfortable and more at ease where year 2 of being with this guy and with Coach Rathbone? I mean, is the transition now a lot smoother because you guys know each other so much better and you kind of know everything about the offense, et cetera, et cetera?
It is. It's been very smooth. Especially this year, we've grown a lot. The team's grown a lot. Everyone's relationship has gotten a lot better. I mean, last year, not having a lot of returning starters, there was still the unknown, and guys needed to step up. Some may have, some may haven't, but I feel like this year, the team's really come together, and we're in this together now. There's no individuals. We're all in here together, so let's go win as a team.
And Coach, this might have been asked earlier, so I apologize, but opening with Fairview, I think it's a yearly tradition, but to have the big rivalry game to kick off the season, what's that like for you? And obviously, after last season, I mean, y'all probably this is probably even a bigger game trying to avenge a loss.
Well, it's one of those things that you always see some teams that are really, really good, and then they play kind of like the Braves and the Mets. Braves always play the Mets well, no matter how good the Mets are. It's Fairview always does that to us, no matter how down they are and how up we are, or vice versa. We're always going to play each other tough. So I don't have to really worry about getting the kids up because of that issue, but it's also kind of a double-edged sword in that they're already up because it's game one. So what is too high of getting up, and that's something we got to be very careful and control. But it's a fun atmosphere. Like I said before, I mean, Chris Hughes is just he's a great guy, and I would say just about all these Williamson County coaches. But he's a dear friend of mine. I enjoy coaching with him, but on that week I try not to talk to him for obvious reasons. So, but it's a fun atmosphere.
And my last question, I mean, obviously 2020 was such a difficult year navigating through COVID. What was the biggest challenge you had? And along with that, having been through a season, how does that help you this season? Whereas if something happens, you've been through it once before.
So for me, it was, I don't think that year could have been any more challenging. You know, football-wise, having so many new guys coming back. But for me, I'm about relationships. You know, I like getting out. I like joking around with these kids. And that's probably been Jake's biggest change when he came from Coach Dilfer from Lipscomb to me was I like joking around with the kids. I'm not serious in business all the time. And, you know, I push them, and I have to keep that distance. But not being able to get close enough to them to really have those relationships, to have those quarterback meetings or the offensive line meetings or the meetings on Saturdays and then even during practice, you know, you can only hit for 9 minutes. And if they screw up a play, you have to sit there and explain what happened. And by the time you explain that what happened, boom, you get one more rep, and now you got to go take a break for whatever. It was just extremely challenging. With that being said, I'm very thankful that we were even able to get the season in, and I'm kind of, if anything, I'm more disappointed in myself that I felt like I didn't do a good enough job in preparing these kids. I feel like that group of seniors, I just did not do a quality job of getting them ready for Friday nights and preparing them. What I would have done different, I don't know for sure, but I definitely would have done something. So, you know, that's something that kind of haunts me, to be honest with you, every day, that I just feel like I let that group down, and that bothers me. Well, if the same situation happened, I do, because now we're bringing back some kids that have played before and those things. As far as the relationship building, I would have to find some time. I would have to figure out a way where I could still have those meetings and find time to have those more in-depth relationships. So, you know, that's what I would have to do differently.
Thank you, Coach Raffalon.
Thank y'all.
Good job. Appreciate you guys being here. Ravenwood High School will be next as they make their way up here. I did want to mention this to you, something that we've really been trying to promote the last couple of years, and with our end of the year awards, the Wilco Awards, we actually recognized a multi-sport athlete at those awards. We had a young lady at Fairview High School that actually participated in 4 sports. So it's one of those things that I think the coaches are really buying into. Parents have really bought into, certainly the young people have bought into. If you want to play one sport, play one. If you want to play 2, play 2. You want to play 3, play 3. And I was looking through the list of athletes tonight, and over half of the athletes here are multi-sport athletes. And I would also point out that Brentwood High School has really been the most dominant public high school in the state in terms of state championships over the years. They just have, like it or not. They have also led the state many years in number of multi-sport athletes. So we're really proud of that, and we're proud that the young people want to play multiple sports, and the coaches definitely support it. All right, next up, making their way to the table, we've got Coach Will Hester. He's back in the district. We're excited to have Coach Hester back. Coach Daniels did a great job. And when that job came open, we were really excited that Coach Hester wanted to make his way back. So he's new to the league this year, but not really. So if you guys would, welcome Coach Hester. Coach, as you come up, if you would introduce the players you have with you tonight, and then also make an opening statement about expectations for the year, and then we'll open it up for questions. Coach Will Hester and Ravenwood High School.
All right, guys, thanks for having us. To my right here, this is Brendan Dickinson, who will play basically every position on the field at one time or another for us. He'll punt for us. He'll play tight end for us. He'll play receiver for us. He'll play quarterback for us. He'll play linebacker for us. To my left is Lee Millette. He's kind of the same way from an offensive and defensive skill position. Lee will play receiver, defensive back for us, return kicks for us. But super excited to be back. A little bit different scenario this time, going to Ravenwood than last. Last time we were joining Ravenwood. It was coming off of some tough years, some down times, and it was our job to kind of rebuild the program. And Coach Derrick, who y'all talked to a little bit before, was there with us and helped us get that done. And then now this time coming back, the expectations are a little bit different. 2019 played in the state championship game. Last year, lost the second round of the playoffs. So expectations are a little bit higher than they were last time. But, that's what you want. You want people to expect you to have to play well and do things good. And we're just super excited to get it started. August 20th, can't get here fast enough.
Coach Chris Brooks, 615 Preps, welcome back.
Thanks.
What do you think about this region now than the last time you were here?
I mean, it's super tough, probably tougher, right? You lose Dixon County, who, no offense to Dixon County, but, was kind of predominantly at the bottom of the league, and you add in the defending 5A state champs. I mean, it really doesn't get any tougher than that. Plus I think it's one of the most well-coached leagues in the state of Tennessee. So, it's going to be a challenge each and every week, but, for these guys, it's all about making memories that are going to last a lifetime and playing every Friday night as a meaningful football game. It really doesn't get any better than that. They're going to have 10 opportunities to make something special out of their senior years.
There's been a lot of talk about Chris Parson already at quarterback. What's your impression of him so far since you've had him in camp?
Obviously he's a great football player. I think these guys would attest to his leadership abilities. A super positive guy who builds his teammates up. But Chris, this is going to be his first opportunity to be the guy, right? So, a lot of the expectations on him, and it's going to be a challenge to see how he handles those. But I think, our team would say that we expect him to do quite well.
This is for both of the players. I mean, you guys have pretty much a really good opponent every week. Your schedule is one of the hardest around. What are your thoughts on this season, and what do you hope to get out of it?
For me, I mean, I love the tough schedule. I love the hard games. I don't like preparing for a game that we think we're just going to go in and win. I mean, playing tough teams makes everyone better, and that just gets us ready for the playoffs, make a run, hopefully end up in Chattanooga this year.
I say the same thing. I mean, playing 10 great teams is really good, and our region is probably the hardest in the state. Playing Summit, Franklin, got to get Franklin back. It's a really good region.
Coach Hester, this is your second stint at Ravenwood. What made you want to come back from Florence, Alabama?
I mean, quite frankly, this is home for me, right? My parents still live across the street from Ravenwood High School. It's been discussed many times that I grew up in that area and before Ravenwood even existed. So, being back home is the main thing, obviously, and then back at a school that's very familiar to me and a lot of great memories there, and want to continue to try to build off those memories and help these guys achieve their goals.
You start out your schedule playing NBA, who has an incredible quarterback in Marcel Reed. What is your message to your team with starting out with such a tough game at home?
I mean, I don't think there has to be much of a message, right? I mean, our schedule, if you look at it top to bottom, we play alphabet soup, if you will, of the private schools along the way, and then you throw Hendersonville in there, who's probably one of the most storied programs in Tennessee high school history in Middle Tennessee. A lot of great football played out of Hendersonville and then our league. So, our guys don't have to really even look at the schedule to know that we're going to have a tough game week in and week out. I think it'll be exciting for the fans to see two great 2023 quarterbacks go against each other. But in the end, those quarterbacks can only do so much. It's going to take all these guys and the guys up front on both of those teams in order to make the game successful for whichever team comes out on top. But it's going to be super exciting first night out, I can promise you that.
Tom Krager, Tennessean. Coach, first, were you able to schedule any of these games, or was it all done before you got there?
No, Coach Daniels had already filled the schedule before I was hired.
Okay, because obviously we all know what kind of schedule they played a year ago. Players, it looks as just as challenging. And of course, a lot of that is you got Summit in the league, but you get Life Christian, NBA, Hendersonville in there. It's Independence, Pope John Paul. I mean, can you talk about this schedule? Kind of compare it to last year.
I mean, it's pretty much the same. Not as much of it's pretty much the same challenge. Every game is difficult. No setbacks. We can't take a rest game. Every game is a challenge.
And Lee, can you just talk about? They asked a question about Chris Parson, but a different quarterback. What is it like catching passes from him? What's he like as a leader? And then Brendan, the same for you.
I grew up playing with Chris at Una, and then now it's really just the same. He's a great quarterback. He gets everything on time, and then, there's not really much negative to say about it. I think everybody should be on notice about what's about to happen.
And Brendan?
Yeah, Chris is a great quarterback. Footwork's great. He's a heck of an athlete. Makes the right reads, ball gets there quick, accurate. You couldn't write up a better quarterback there. And he's a great leader, great in the locker room. Gets all the guys fired up, and he knows what he's doing for sure.
Players, is there much? And he's not paying attention, so just ignore your coach. But is there much of a difference in coaching style between a Will Hester and a Matt Daniels, or how are they different and how are they the same?
In my opinion, I'd say they're pretty similar. Just with upbeat practices, spread offense. Offensively, it's very similar. Big difference is Coach Hester's. He's got a couple more years in his book. He's had a lot more experiences than Coach Daniels had. And you can't beat experience. That's the most helpful tool there is.
And Lee, what about you, Lee?
I say the same. Practice is a lot more intense a little bit, but Coach Daniels is really intense with it, and we can't take any reps off, and he makes sure that if we take reps off, there's a punishment to it. So,
Will, how smooth of a transition was it for you to go? Here you've been. Obviously you're 2 schools removed. You're in Florence, Alabama, and then before that you're in Nolansville. Before you're at Ravenwood, but it seems like you came back in there and it's just like everything was normal, or was it the same as when you left? Was it easy to put what you want to do in because they're doing a lot of stuff that they're maybe called differently?
I turned left off Wilson Pike both times. The office was in the same place. Decorations were a little bit different. Weight room been painted. There's some stuff on the walls, but for the most part, the kids in our community are the kids in our community, and those guys are very similar to the same guys we coached when we were there the last time. For me, Dr. Vaden has been the only principal in the history of the school. So, when the leadership is consistent and stays the same like that, things are going to be very similar. That. So, a lot of great friends still there. Coach Elrod, who's our athletic director, was on our staff there the first time. So, it was a very easy transition. But like I kind of, alluded to at the beginning, where the program is in way different spots than where it was. You'd like to think that we had something to do with getting it to that point, but we're coming into a totally different situation than we were the last time. The last time nobody even, gave us a second thought on whether we were going to be in the top of the league or this or that. And now, people are trying to pencil us in, playing well into the colder months of the year. So, definitely a different feel to where we are.
And scheduling is a lot different. You're going a lot more out of state type stuff. It's some challenge. I was saying you never played one before, but you look at your Life Christian NBA, and then you got Summit, what they've done. It's a totally different schedule from maybe it's kind of that's one thing that Coach Daniels did is he found bigger games and try to get some out of state games to kind of really see how you guys did against other powerhouses.
Well, you got to look at it too. When you're 2-8, 1-9, 3-7, everybody wants to play you. When you're played in the state championship back-to-back in 14 and 15. You beat Maryville in 15 and break their streak. Little harder to find games. Ask Oakland, ask Kevin Chryski how tough it is to find games. So it's the same kind of scenario. Nobody wants to play the better teams. You got to look elsewhere. And why not look to people that are going to challenge you? Why not look to people that are going to expose you on ESPN and things of that nature? You know, I would be lying to you if I didn't think some of the people that we had moving into our area wasn't because they saw us playing on TV against IMG. I mean, those are literal conversations that we've had that, you know, that put the name Ravenwood on the map. So, you know, we're a big believers in building the brand of Ravenwood football. We go to Hoover this year and compete in the, you know, National Select 7-on-7 tournament down there. You know, we truly believe that we need to try to grow our brand and not just necessarily focus on, you know, what we're doing here, but what we can do elsewhere.
Last question from me. I mean, we talked about Marcel Reed. Looking on that schedule, you also have Kenny Minchie. I mean, you got probably 3 of the top quarterbacks in the state for 2023 on, you know, one on your roster and two other opponents. I mean, y'all going to see 3 of the top quarterbacks for 2023 on, you know,
which I guess means Tom Kreger will be at Ravenwood a bunch this year.
I was there a bunch last year, and my wife has let me know this, and I'll probably be there again a lot this year. So yeah, you're right.
You guys are done? I'm just kidding. So the Ravenwood Summit game is going to be on ESPN, I hear?
That is not to our knowledge. Last time I spoke to Coach Kirby, that was not finalized yet.
Oh, okay. Somebody else that I work with had fed me a question, but I won't ask. I guess I'll ask around it. If that were to happen, I mean, you kind of hit on this, but how cool would that be between two schools that are in your county?
I think it'd be unbelievable for Williamson County football, an unbelievable opportunity for these guys to make a memory that's going to last a lifetime. You know, I would love for that to happen. It has been discussed. I know that. I don't know where it sits. We're just, you know, kind of players in this. You know, it's Summit's home game, so they won't be really talking to us about it. It'll go through those guys down there, but it would be very, very cool if that was to happen.
From the players, kind of same question about the exposure part that Coach Hester was mentioning. I mean, when something like that is on TV or games in the past, what did that mean to you as players coming up in the program when you saw, you know, your school on national television?
Got to play different. Got to play with a very different mindset. Know that people nationally are watching you play, and especially against IMG and Life Christian and hopefully Summit. I mean, you gotta be prepared the whole week. There's no being able to slack off at all, because you got one opportunity to show who you are in the school and represent who you are.
Yeah, same thing as Lee. I mean, you got to bring it to a different level if you're on ESPN, but kind of same thing Coach Hester is saying with traveling around, playing these bigger teams. You know, it just gets Ravenwood on the map more, and if Summit was in it too, it'd get Williamson County on the map and Tennessee football, so everyone can see what it's all about around here.
Brendan, last thing for me, and Coach Hester, maybe you can help me fill it. How in the world did you get all these jobs on the team, and are you really going to be throwing passes at some point?
Well, we're not sure about throwing passes yet, but maybe we'll see. We'll see about that. But
he definitely throws them in practice. I know that.
A lot of it last year was, you know, I was neck and neck with Trevor Andrews for the quarterback battle, and he ended up taking the job. And I just want to help out the team wherever I could, so I jumped in and ended up playing, you know, fullback, slot receiver a little bit. And then we had some guys go down on defense, so we didn't have much depth there last year. So I talked to Coach Daniels. I was like, I'm more than happy to help in and jump in, and if y'all can teach me what I need to know, then I can help get the job done. And then they kind of just plugged me in wherever I could, and I would do good enough to keep the job.
You know, first off, I mean, it's an easy answer for me as a coach, right? Phenomenal leader, respected by his teammates at the highest level. Both these guys are. And it's very easy to depend on them, right? So when you're a coach, it's all about the trust factor. I think any coach that sits up here now, you know, when the game's on the line in the fourth quarter, you want guys out there that you trust. You want guys out there that are committed to the program, committed to each other, and these guys are kind of the epitome of that. The reason they're here, sitting here today, is because they are those kinds of guys. And so, you know, it's easy to find other things for them to do when you know you can count on them.
What dimension does that give you on the on special teams, having a punter who can who can throw it, and maybe other teams know he can throw it.
I mean, a lot less likely to get rushed, that's for sure. They're not going to sell out for the block if they know the guy back there, has thrown passes in the game before and has the ability to do so. So yes, definitely a plus.
Coach, welcome back to Williamson County. Brad DeShield, the Dash to Sports Network. We cover Indy football. You guys have always, and you guys can testify to this, that game at the end of the year is like, I know what our guys are going for. They're like, oh no, Ravenwood's coming, or we're going to Ravenwood. And the weather has always been horrid. I mean, the one game I called, it was pouring rain in, wet. The cheerleaders were under the bleachers. That's how bad it was, and you guys were out there playing football. I guess, how much different now? You guys have the turf. We're playing at your place this year. How much I know it makes a difference a little bit. Footing's a little bit better. Drainage is better. Talk a little bit about getting the guys ready for that. Now, I know a lot of teams around here have the turf, but talk about how that impacts Ravenwood, and we'll go from there.
Well, I mean, I think the biggest key is, a couple of years ago, they're having to move playoff games to neutral sites because of the conditions of the field. So now you're guaranteeing that you're going to at least have the opportunity to keep your home field your home field advantage if that's the case, and not have to get on a bus to play a home game at some point. So that's number one. The rain games, those are rain games. In my opinion, playing in a rain game is a mindset deal, whether it's on turf or on grass. The wet ball itself is probably the biggest factor, more than the footing is, if you will. So you got to prepare for that. You got to throw a wet ball around in practice. You got to do those kinds of things. But in the end, I think it's truly about the mindset of the deal. If you allow the conditions, whether it be rain, sleet, snow, uber hot, all those things to affect your preparation or to affect how you play on the field, then you're already at a disadvantage. I think you've got to truly believe in your heart that you're going to play well regardless of the conditions. And, if you're worried about the conditions, then you're defeated a little bit already.
Right. We were kind of hoping you'd put a dome over that field this year for us, but I guess that's not going to happen. Another question, Coach. Talk about got a new quarterback coming in. Talk about the offensive weapons. You've got several around, a lot of places to go to, and that's what makes you guys so difficult to beat. You can't double cover one guy. You're going to have to pick your poison. Talk a little bit about who those players are. Maybe name a few of the players that you see stepping up into those roles, those key roles this year.
Obviously, these two guys right here are the first two to name. Lee playing on the outside for us. He's going to play the X receiver position for us. And Brendan, as kind of our fullback, H-back, tight end guy, he'll be the guy that moves around quite a bit. But we think these guys are matchup problems, right? And then we have several guys. We think we're 6 deep, if you will, at wide receiver. We've got some guys. Nick Rom, who's a baseball kid. This will be his first year playing with us on the varsity football team, but a super speedy guy who can take the top off the defense. And we have Nathan Putty and Blake Irvin, who kind of live in the intermediate zone and are great about finding holes in zone coverage and doing that kind of thing. And we think we have a 3-headed monster in that tailback position. JT Smitherman, Cartua Chapman, and Carter Pace will all get reps for us at running back. We think they all have different strengths, but we think that those 3 guys are going to get several touches a game for us. So the key for us is we wish we had more than one ball to go around. We wish we could use a couple on each and every play, because the key is going to be there's so many people we want to get touches to, and it's going to have to almost be what the defense is giving us kind of thing.
Exactly. Brandon, Lee, look back. Maybe last year, maybe the year before, because you've been in some Indy Ravenwood games. Give me some key memories, maybe that you remember this or you remember that, and just talk about that a little bit, because it's kind of fun for me to share that when I'm doing play-by-play. When we play you guys, I'm like, oh man, this is what this guy thought was cool or whatever, because I always give our side, but I never get your side. So give me a little bit of that.
Like you said, Indy, that's always when we get ramped up. It's the last game of the season before the playoff run, so we always try to come into that strong so we can get going into the playoffs. And my sophomore year, I was backup quarterback behind Brian Garcia, and we got up by a big enough lead where they put me in there so Garcia wouldn't get hurt. So that was cool as a sophomore, get in to run varsity a little bit, although it was cold that game.
It was freezing.
I remember I got in there and my ankles were just stuck at a 90-degree, and I could hardly run, but it was pretty cool. And then last year we played a pretty solid game against y'all too. I remember it was kind of chilly, not too bad, but a little rainy. But just it's always a fun game going into because it's always great competition, and it gets us ready for the playoffs.
I'll probably say last year, the game in the season, our two biggest turnovers. The first one was I'm pretty sure it was a fumble recovery that we had, and that really gave us a big jump. And then my guy Isaac Rollins got our first DB pick, took it about 50 yards. That put us in a really good position. And then another play where it was two big touchdowns by Ross Johnson and JT Smitherman that were really good for us and really put us in really good positions to win the game.
All right. This question is for Brendan and Lee. Your loss to Franklin in the playoffs last year was a big blow for your team. How has that loss motivated you for the season?
That loss was painful, very painful. It took me a while to get over it. I mean, at first I didn't think it would hurt as much, and then about 10 minutes later, I pretty much lost it. And I just knew that I couldn't go out like that again my senior year. So I'm hoping that we can go into this year knowing that we'll make sure that doesn't happen again. It was a very big letdown for us mentally, physically, and just I hated that our seniors had to go out like that.
For me, it's been a big motivator on the team all off season, whether we're in the weight room or out on the field running or pushing sleds or pretty much anything tough, when you can tell someone's getting down and not going to give up, but they're getting tired and wanting to quit, not going to quit, but you just remind them that we lost second round of the playoffs to Franklin last year, and they get their energy back real quick.
All right, our final group for the night, they'll make their way out here, Summit High School. Obviously, state champion last year in 5A. This year, moving into 6A, and I can say as the district athletic director, I am very happy about that. I think it's the best league in the state. It might have been the best league anyway, and now it definitely is. You move Dixon out, you move Summit in, a lot of great natural rivals here in Williamson County that adds to it. And I'll mention this too as Coach Coleman comes up. I've mentioned a few things about a few coaches as they've come up, and I think they've all done a great job tonight. You see, and you talk to them all the time how impressive they are. But Coach Coleman, when they did the signing or the commitment day for Keaton and Destin who are here with him tonight, I was very impressed with his meticulous nature in terms of getting everything lined up. So when he comes up here, he may try to straighten this football up a little bit, but he's really a neat guy in terms of making sure things look great. So if he wasn't a football coach, and we're glad he is because he's one of the best around, he might have a chance to be an interior designer. So let's welcome to the table our last guest of the night, Coach Brian Coleman. Coach, if you would, when you come up, introduce the guys that are with you, give us some thoughts about this year, and then we'll open it up to questions. Coach Coleman.
All right, thank you for having us. Thank y'all for hanging out this long for the last guys, I guess. To my left, I have Keaton Wade. To my right, I have Destin Wade. Just two great young men. Of course, you all know what Destin brings to the table as far as last year goes and the performance he had. Mr. Football finalist. Keaton was injured a lot of last year. Did come back the last two rounds of the playoffs and the state championship game, but we just feel like we've got almost a new player with us. We've got a new kid with us, a transfer maybe, something like that, because he's 100% now, and it shows in practice. It showed in the spring, and we're really excited to see him on the field and do all the things that he can do defensively. Just being 100%. As far as this season goes, we don't need much motivation. There's not going to be a lull in motivation, that's for sure, after a state championship, because now you're rewarded with going into the best region in the state of Tennessee, I believe, in 6A. And, these guys are motivated about that, so they're not going to rest on their morals, I guess you could say, from last year. They're very, very looking forward to this year and the challenges that comes with it, and the tough schedule that we have. Even after a successful year, even these non-region games are going to be tough, and week to week it's going to be tough, and these guys are excited about it, and we are as a staff and as a school, and we're excited about being in the Williamson County League and being able to compete against some of the better teams and coaches around.
Coach, Chris Brooks, 615 Preps. I'm looking at the schedule, and you guys have 5 straight home games this year. How much fun is that going to be, being able to stay home for a while, and how much not fun is it going to be playing others on the road?
Yeah, and I really didn't mean it to be like that, but you get making a schedule, and you got all your region games, and they're set. Whether you're looking for your non-region people, and they're like, well, I need a home, I need a away, and it just turned out to be that way. So we're 3 away, 5 home, 2 away. So it'll be fun. It's good. We'll like those 5 weeks for sure in the middle. But those first 3 weeks, we go to Henry County, we go to Spring Hill, then we go to Brentwood. So tough 3 games off bat, but we're prepared for it. We look forward to those 5 games in the middle for sure.
And with a new class, a new region, it's a new challenge with a lot of good competition. What do you guys feel like going into this year that you want to accomplish? Even obviously you want to win a state championship, but what other goals do you have in this gauntlet of a region?
We're in the region first and foremost. You know what I mean? You're matching up with that Memphis, the Memphis region over there too. So you really want to be top 2 at least. Our goal is to be region champs for sure. But before you're a state champ, before you qualify, before you get in any round of the playoffs, you need to win the region first. So that's always been our first goal, and it is again this year.
Destin, Keaton, it's for both of y'all. Your last go around as high school players. What are your thoughts entering this season, and how do you feel like you're prepared for this year to go?
I'm just blessed just to play the game overall, and I'm really excited for it going into my senior year, last go around with my brother too. I'm just going to reflect on all the memories and stuff we're going to have, and just going to have fun with it overall, so yeah. Yeah, I'm excited just to play one more year with all my teammates and all my friends. It's going to be a great year, and it's just good to be back on the field.
All right, the first question is for Destin and Keaton Wade. Destin and Keaton, you both won a state championship last year. How do you make sure your team still strives to be hungry and not be satisfied with what happened last year?
Right. I feel like it's important as a quarterback to be a leader. So me and Keaton try to lead on the field and off the field by example with our voice sometimes too. But we just have to just keep our head down and keep working toward the goal, the main goal. So yeah. Yeah, yes sir. Just like be leaders, like Destin has the offensive side of the ball, I have the defensive side of the ball, and make sure we're not making any mistakes, and we're going 100% in our reps, and just focused one game at a time.
Coach Coleman, with winning that state championship last year, you have all Williamson County opponents this year. Do you feel like there's a target on your back, or not at all?
Yeah, I think so. I guess that goes with winning a state championship, but we're also the new guys in the league too, so we're not really the hunted. I think we're the hunters right now. I think more than anything, so those guys have played each other so much. We're kind of new to it. Hopefully, we can surprise some people with the way we play and the way we compete.
Keaton, how do you feel now? How does your body feel now? And can you take us back to when you turned the corner from your injury and really started feeling 100%?
Yeah, it was like I think it was like in March before spring when the doctor said I was 100%, and that just made me feel comfortable to get back out there. And keep grinding and keep getting better every day with the team and working out and working on my skill set. So I feel great right now, and I feel great going to the season.
How did the first pad crunch or the first hit feel? Have you experienced that yet?
Yeah, we've been hitting a little bit out there. It feels good to just compete versus the teammates, and I'm glad I just get to go out there and play football.
Mentally, injuries are weird because, like you said, you felt good when the doctor said that you were cleared. How was that part of the injury? Getting over the mental aspect of just going out there and going full speed again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just trusting in God and trusting in your body and yourself. I feel like that plays an important role into it. And then you just got to keep acting like you're not hurt and like you didn't have an injury. So yes, sir.
It felt like we could really, I know it's his question, but it felt like we could really see him in the weight room at that time, just like, okay, I'm good to go. I'm going to push it now. And he exploded in the weight room, and then these two start competing against each other in the weight room, and that's great for everybody. So we could all see it, he could see it, and then we have a spring practice, and it's Navy white spring practice, and I'm trying to run the ball opposite of number 7 all the time. So, you could tell he's back. It felt good that he was back for the whole team and for everybody for sure.
Brian, not to put you on the spot here, but is there any update on whether or not the Summon Ravenwood game will be on a certain national television?
We had talked about that. They had sent a few emails. Haven't heard back in a while. I don't know if I think that's bad. I don't know if they scheduled somebody else, but they wanted like week 1 or I think they wanted week 2 that we played Spring Hill. And I was like, that's not a better week. That's not a good week. So what about when we play Ravenwood? And they were like, oh, yeah, that'd be great because we had Ravenwood on last year. So, we're going to look into scheduling that game. And that's the last I heard. So, quite honestly, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that out loud, but that's what we heard for sure.
Well, how does that happen? Does it start with an email from them that they're interested? How does it develop?
Yes, it was an email from them to our AD and Coach Kirby and me. And like I said, they wanted one particular week because they're having a bunch of games that weekend or something like that. And we were away that week, and then we gave them that Ravenwood week, say this would be even better. So that's how we presented it.
Coach, Brad DeShield, Dash to Sports Network, Indy Football. My question to you is, you've kind of developed down there at Summit. You did like what we did. We were in 5A. Ran the table, went to state. You guys are kind of right there, and I'll get to the Indy Summit game in a minute. But now you're like, okay, you've had one of your strong coaches is now coaching across town. You've become the Nick Saban of Williamson County, where
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Everybody's picking up your coaches. Okay, talk about that. Talk about. You obviously have control over that, but now your DC's gone, and you're like, okay, who's going to jump in? I'm sure you have a great guy coming in, but talk about that as a coach. How do you deal with that? That's some, adversity as a head coach.
It is a little bit, but at the same rate, I knew Coach Melton was ready. I knew the opportunity was going to present itself. I've always just let him in on things like, all right, you're going to have to do these things. You're going to have to do these things. So we've always known it. But it's tough. It's tough for him to come in and tell the kids that he's going somewhere else. It's tough for the kids to have that happen to them too. But at the same rate, we're happy for him. We're proud for him. Wish he'd have went somewhere else outside the region. But that's neither here nor there. But Coach Melton's a great dude. They know he's a great guy. We all know he is. He's a successful man, and he's a great man. Everybody's mentioned tonight. He was our defensive head coach, and yes, it's going to be tough to lose him, but like players step up, we have coaches that step up and do the same thing. So I think it's a tribute to our program, and we take that as a compliment for sure.
Talking about the Indy Summit game, that game has always been, it's really our rival. That's the game, and it's always been like at the beginning of the season, like game 1 or game 2 or game, it's early. This year it's a little bit further down in the schedule. Last year's game, I can remember it vividly. It looked like we controlled the game. It's like almost like we're up there. We're actually going to beat them this year. Yeah. And out of nowhere, with your quarterback, everybody was out, and I'm like, well, we got this. And out of nowhere, these guys come off the bench and just play hard. And then Destin comes back in, and needless to say, I won't talk about how it ended up. But what I want to get to is you have other players. These guys are great, and I have a question for them shortly. But talk about some of the guys that that aren't getting some of the notoriety because they're going to Kentucky and so forth, and greatly, definitely deserving of that. But talk about some of these players that that you plug and play that come out of nowhere, and we just kind of let down, and it was just great for you guys.
Well, first of all, we're excited that it is a rivalry because there's so many years where it was blowouts, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's great for us as a program to become that rivalry, to make it a rivalry. But yes, you know, we were down 19, I believe, at one point of that game in the fourth quarter, early in the fourth quarter. And with the COVID practices and everything, you really weren't in shape as you would like to be.
Right.
And people step up, and I keep using the word, but I think that's the program. I think that's next man up. I think that's, you know, everybody knows the expectations of the program and knows what to do. And when Destin cramped up, we didn't fold. Thank goodness we had people to step up. So as a coaching staff, we're really excited about that, even week one, because you never really know what you have going into a year, who's going to lead, who's going to step up. And, you know, we had some guys step on. I was like, oh, heck yeah, we really didn't expect that out of this young man. And it was great to see.
Yeah, we didn't either.
I mean, it's fun to see, and it's the fun part about high school sports. You see guys mature right before your eyes that you really didn't expect that was going to happen at all, and they do, and when you're happy for them, then that smile they get on their face whenever they competed and did a great job. So yeah, that was a great question. It's a fun rivalry now. Coach Blade's a great coach. He does a great job, and these kids know each other. I mean, we played a lot in 7-on-7 this summer.
Right.
They know each other. They're very respectful of each other, but you know, it's a big game for us for sure.
Yeah, and if y'all actually were on the opposite side of the field, we probably wouldn't know the difference up where we are in the stands. You kind of look a little bit, you know, you kind of have that same look going on. Destin Keaton, congratulations on the UK commits. We're excited to watch you at the next level. My wife especially, she's from Kentucky, so she's real excited. But anyway, what I was going to ask you is, okay, this is your, call it the final tour. You know, it's like the going away tour for George Strait. You know, he's riding off in the sunset, but going to new things. How will that affect you? I mean, you know you're going to Kentucky. You have that in the back of your mind. I don't want to get hurt. You know, I know guys in a subconscious way, not a whole lot, because you guys are pure athletes. But talk about that just a little bit. Is there any mental thing there that you're saying, man, I want to play hard and I want to really excel in this new 6A conference that we're in, but, you know, I don't want to get hurt for my freshman year at Kentucky?
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's definitely going to be harder just on the body, just because you're moving up a level, playing bigger kids, playing better competition. So you just got to take care of your body through the season, so that makes me feel comfortable. And I feel comfortable with Kentucky that if I do get hurt or anything like that, they'll take care of me.
Right.
And I just thank them for that.
Yep. Yes?
I would say I wouldn't really have any just little thoughts about getting injured, but I would say you just have to play with confidence basically, and not thinking about all that stuff. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
And I think we were proud of them too for committing and getting it out of the way. I think that took a lot of weight off their shoulders, you know, to have to worry about their senior year. Now they can relax and play, you know, their senior year and have fun with their friends.
Joe Spears, Tennessee, and Destin, we know about the weapons you guys got coming back. Your brother's back, Brady's back, but that offensive line, not a lot of people are talking about it. You got 4 starters coming back. Just how important is that coming into this new region where you got Brentwood, Ravenwood, Franklin, all these bigger teams?
It's really important. I think my guys a lot, just what they do for me and the whole team. They're really big roles. They play a lot of big roles for our team. But going in it, I feel like chemistry that we have just made us maybe a little better, or just all the practice reps we've been getting together ever since freshman year. So yeah, they really play a huge role in it.
Keaton, you're going against your brother every day at practice. How does that maybe help prepare you, kind of along the same lines where you're going into this region where they have these dynamic quarterbacks and athletes, where he's probably the best one you guys would have played last year if he was on the opposite team?
Yeah, it definitely gets you better just to practice against good athletes like Destin, and be ready for teams like Ravenwood with a mobile QB and other teams. But it's good competition, and it makes the whole team better.
Tom Krieger, Tennessean. Coach, I can see the Nick Saban resemblance minus the hair, but with that being said, You win a state championship, now you're going up to 6A. What do you see as the biggest challenge for a team going from 5A to 6A as the defending 5A champs going in arguably or most likely, or it is the toughest region in the state?
I think depth. I think, 'cause the physicality of each week, still 5A, we don't have the numbers that they have yet. We're new to 5A, so our numbers are kind of low still. We don't have the 100 players yet. So I think depth is going to be key, to keep these guys healthy. We're going to not try to go both ways with some of them, but a kid like Brady Pierce, you can't help but go both ways. You can't get him off the field. He's going to play both ways, offensively and defensively. So definitely depth, I think, is the biggest concern because of the physicality of 6A.
And Keaton, will he be both ways? Keaton, are you gonna run the ball?
We'll see.
That was. I don't think he wants you to answer that.
He was fixing to answer that, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I got you.
We'll talk. Okay?
I got you.
We'll talk. Hey, Coach, looking at your schedule, you got Henry County and Beach, and let's be honest, if you're playing 5A, I don't know if you play them in the regular season because it might be a playoff game. So is that why you're more apt to schedule them when they're non-region games, knowing that knowing those are great potential semifinal games if you're still in 5A?
That's right, but we were scrounging. That was all we could get, really, I promise. And Henry County was late. I mean, we didn't. That was late to the schedule. Go to Henry County is a long haul to do it. The last time that we played them, and then the first time in their new turf. You know what I mean? So it wasn't by. I made a lot of phone calls, had a lot of text messages. So they weren't our first calls, believe me. But I mean, you got to do what you got to do to fill out a schedule, I think.
And as tough as that region schedule is, you throw in Henry County and Beach and Shelbyville, and wait and see what Blackman's like with the new coach and everything. But it's going to be. Obviously, when you're the defending state champion, it's tougher to schedule. Most
definitely. I mean, and yeah, it is. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, and I'm sure Oakland has that problem. Everybody in Williamson County has that problem. So it's just. There's nothing we can do about it as a coach. There's nothing we can do about it as a system. And I think that's just the way it works right now.
And finally, obviously you played 98% of the season or 95% of the season without Keaton, with him hurt. Yeah. Having him back, what does he mean to your defense, knowing that he's back there on defense?
Versatility. I mean, that's why I think the colleges love him. He can put his hand on the ground and rush the quarterback. He can drop in the flats. He can man-to-man coverage if we need him to. So it's the versatility he brings to our defense, and maybe whatever he can do for our offense too. And he makes us better as a team. Our offensive line, he's one of the best pass rushers they're going to see all year. So he's making them better in practice. And like Keaton said about Destin, I mean, Destin is one of the best quarterbacks that we're going to face defensively, and to have him throw perimeter every day is really helping our team. So these two guys, just accelerate everybody on the team.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps up Football Media Day 2021 here in Williamson County. Want to again thank the folks here at Mafiosos for having us. I want to thank all the media members for being here. We appreciate you covering athletics like you do, certainly covering athletics here in Williamson County. Again, I want to thank Tate Matthews. Tate does so much for us beyond the Adidas contract, but also being involved in the pre-show here today. He's involved in our game day, so we appreciate him as well. And finally, Walker Chevrolet. Without Walker Chevrolet, none of these things happen. We appreciate them, and we'll see you next time for Football Media Day. We're looking forward to 2022, but more importantly, we're looking forward to this season and what it'll look like for Williamson County Schools. Thank you.